Yeah. You know, I just wanted to, open up with a very fine display of rhythm and vibration. So, as I continue to sail along this river of thought and consciousness that we're traveling on, it's leading somewhere. Tonight is about vibration. Vibration, I mean, we talked about so many things, right, that relate to vibration. Like, vibration is a part of these things. Like, everything, what you'll notice is like everything is a part of each other. It's all like a different expression of each other. So when we look at vibration, it's no different. But how does vibration fit into the puzzle? What really is vibration? Yesterday, I had the honor and, pleasure, luxury, esteem. I mean, it was just incredible. I had the pleasure to be on a panel with some beautiful women that, broke down a lot of great things, especially from a feminine standpoint. Just things that you wouldn't know, if you're not in that position. So just a lot of interesting things. And, with that understanding, what I feel like happens, what I feel like happens is we understand each other better and we improve our harmony. We improve our vibration. So it's like, by understanding each other better, by feeling each other more, by, having, I guess you could say, like a consideration, right? Because you're like basically making space for when you're considering, right? So by making that space for each other and considering each other, we establish harmony. It's the act of balancing. And with harmony comes rhythm, right? Rhythm is vibration. Harmony is vibration. Everything is vibration. Because, all that vibration is a two-way dance, a two-step. It's letting you know that it's two sides of the same coin. It's an ebb and a flow. This and that, right? To and fro, right? It's a dualistic principle. And so when we look at vibration, what is the importance of it? How does it fit into the puzzle? And I hope that we can explore that right now. And so I have some stuff lined up here that I'm going to be showing just for informational purposes. Just your basic stuff. I mean, this is not something too profound for most people, I would think. I mean, maybe there are people that haven't pondered, this idea of vibration and, what role it plays in reality. But I think a lot of people have. And hopefully more people will, because it's a very central theme to what's happening and what's going on. And perhaps, just like I said, when one force understands the other, they can communicate better, they can dance better, they can have better rhythm, right? Because the rhythm requires a balance. It requires harmony. It's almost like harmony has to already be established before you can actually have the rhythm. Or maybe it's vice versa. Because, I mean, with these forces, we see that you can flip them inside out. So with vibration, we're going to explore, how serious it is and, what does this really mean? You always hear like, oh man, it's good vibes, bad vibes, high vibes, We hear these different things, but what does it really mean? Like what is the vibration? And that's what we're about to explore. Let's see how deep it gets, guys. Let's go into the rabbit hole. Let's see how deep vibration actually gets. Now, one of the beautiful sisters yesterday was welcome, Lucifer. Welcome to the panel. I'm glad you're here. I would love to get your input on some of this information that we're about to cover. So thank you for joining.
I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Let
me see.
Try it again. I turned my volume up on the app.
Check.
My voice is really hoarse.
Check. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, you're really, really quiet, and I have my volume up everywhere.
I'm really quiet?
I think.
Let me see. What about if you right click on, or if you click on my name? Because you can change volumes for people too. Maybe it somehow got turned down.
Oh, let me just check.
Okay.
Okay, I turned your volume up too.
All right. How's that?
No, it's still really quiet.
Still quiet? Let me see. I see it coming through on the stream.
I'm not hearing most of what you're saying.
Okay. Let's see. Little technical difficulties.
Oh yeah, I want that on.
Okay. I don't know if it's the app or because I see them coming through on the stream. I see the stream. I'm coming through here. It could be Discord. Let me.
Maybe I should log out. Do you think I should log out and try to come back in?
Or try closing the app, and then I'm gonna disconnect too, and then I'll reconnect too. I'm still on the stream though.
Do you are other people coming tonight?
I'm not sure. It's up to them.
Okay.
It's up to them.
Okay.
There's no pressure.
What do you do? Do you do sometimes just 2 people, or how do you do it? Or should I heal my voice tonight?
Yeah. No, it's no pressure at all. It's just an open discussion. That's all it is. Open discussion.
Yeah.
So if you guys wanted to chime in,
my voice is really hoarse.
Okay.
And it hurts my throat.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. You can even text if you like, or if you want to, interact in any way. You don't. There's no pressure, guys.
Yeah,
please.
I'll just keep writing tonight. Maybe. Okay. I'll just use this time for writing.
Okay. Yeah, okay. That sounds beautiful.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye.
Alrighty. All right. That was Lucifer. Thank you for stopping by. So, I think I'm coming through clear on the stream. Let me just make sure. Here. Check. All right. So, let me make sure. Test. All right. Yep. Okie dokie. So, thank you, Lucifer, for dropping by. So, any other friends, if you feel free to drop by. I mean, even if you just want to say hello. I mean, again, this is just an open discussion. No biggie. No pressure. So just check me out, though. If anything, just peep what we're about to look into here. For some of you, some of this won't be anything new. But shout out to the sister who I was saying. The sister had brought it up yesterday. What I'm about to get into right now. She brought up the Masaru Emoto water experiments. And so I wanted to go ahead and get into that for anyone who was not aware of this. I did see some kind of false claims of debunking this, where there was like some pseudoscience put out and people trying to, but I have further evidence of this. So we're going to watch the old stuff that they actually did years ago and that Masaru Emoto showed us himself. And then we're going to kind of watch some new examples of this same information, just demonstrating that this is not debunked, or this is not made up or anything like that. So let's get into this. We're going to just check this out real quick. And if anybody has any questions or anything, definitely feel free to chime in at any time, guys. This is an open discussion. We want to make sure that keep the vibes good, laid back vibes. Hopefully, we can learn something tonight, and if we do, that's amazing, and that's the goal. So, is at least that perception, because as you will see with the completion of this series, this is a pathway. This is leading somewhere, right? So, with no further ado, I'll go ahead and get into the first piece of media I have for us here. I have some more stuff that we're gonna just quickly go through, and we'll take input and comments. Anything anyone wants to say or put in is completely welcome. Here we go.
This next series of photographs are the work of Japanese researcher Mr. Masaru Emoto from his book, The Message from Water. Mr. Emoto's work provides factual evidence that human vibrational energy, thoughts, words, ideas, and music affect the molecular structure of water. Please remember that water comprises over 70% of a mature human body and covers the same amount on our planet. Water is the very source of all life. This photo shows the beautifully formed geometric design of the Yushi Spring water. This next photo is from the Shimanto River, the last clean spring in Japan. Notice the extraordinary geometric forms. The fact that the molecular structure of water can be affected by our consciousness, our intent, and our sounds is extremely important. This photo is from the Mount Cook Glacier in New Zealand. Mr. Emoto has been visually documenting these molecular changes in water by means of his photographic techniques. He freezes droplets of water, then examines them under a dark field microscope that has photographic capabilities. His work clearly demonstrates the diversity of the molecular structure of water and the effects of the environment upon the structure of the water. This photo is from the fountain in Lourdes, France. This photo is from contaminated water from the Yodo River in Japan. In this photo, we can compare the contaminated water with clean stream water. Look at the difference. Mr. Emoto decided to see what effects music would have upon the structure of water. He placed distilled water between two speakers for several hours while playing different music and then photographing the crystals that formed after the water was frozen.
Right.
This photo is of water being exposed to Beethoven's Pastorale. This photo is the effect of Bach's air for the G string on the water. This photo is water exposed to Chopin's Farewell Song. This next photo is water being exposed and affected to music that was designed for healing. This photo is of water being exposed to the Kawachi folk dance. This photo shows the effect of heavy metal music upon the water.
Yikes. Ooh.
Here now we can compare the effects of healing versus heavy metal music and what happens to the water molecules. Mr. Emoto decided to see how thoughts and words affected the formation of untreated distilled water crystals by typing words onto paper and then taping this paper onto glass bottles overnight. This photo shows the effects of the words, "Thank you." This next photo shows the effects of the words, "love" and "appreciation." This photo shows the effects of the words, "You make me sick, I will kill you." And here we can compare the effects of thank you with the you make me sick, I will kill you. Very, very different geometric forms being incurred through the intention. Now this photo is of a very polluted and toxic water from the Fujiwara Dam. Here now is the same water from the Fujiwara Dam after a Buddhist monk had offered a prayer over it. Prayer, that sound coupled with intention, seems to have an extraordinary ability of restoring water to its natural, harmonious, geometric symmetry. And in this photo we can compare the toxic water and then the effects of praying over the water.
Okay, so, what a brilliant, series of photos, and what a brilliant experiment by Masaru Emoto. Man, that one is a classic. So if you didn't know that, now you know. So this is something you want to definitely keep in mind every day. You want to keep in mind vibration is influenced by vibration, right? They talk about the law of attraction, but we're going to get into that a little bit more, a little bit deeper on what really the law of attraction is, because, people talk about the law of attraction and it's like, oh yeah, I attract these things to me, I visualize and actually this is true, but it's half true. It is true though, but it's like, you don't actually, like, for instance, right? I could be like, I want to attract, something to me right now. You could just make up something and, you're not going to instantly attract that thing. Now, what you might do is, create a realistic negotiation between yourself and the greater world around you based on frequencies and vibration. So, your vibration echoing out and, attracting, so to speak, or, finding that resonance with, because remember, the space is like a formality. Like the space is a formality. So when you're dealing with that, the sound, the vibrations, or these types of waves, interact on a larger scale, because remember, we're all like a micro of the macro. Indeed. So we talk about the central torus field of your heart, that emits from your heart in relation to the greater torus field of the realm and the plane around us here. And so, vibration is a major key in fundamental aspect of your existence. So it's something that, is so subtle and simple that perhaps sometimes maybe we take for granted the importance that it holds. And so it's important to realize, how important vibration is to us. Not only is it foundational and fundamental in the building blocks and structure of reality itself, it's actually fundamental to our well-being. It's fundamental to our experience of harmony, of peace, of balance. We talk about rhythm, right? Well, guess what? This is all music. It's a gigantic orchestra. And then we have our notes, right? We have the notes that we play. And, we can examine this as the auric field and this kind of visual reflection of that. But, we do have the sound that we add to the reality. And so that's what the goal of this is to understand that a little better, so that we can do what? Communicate it better, provide the harmony, provide the balance. Just like with the two forces, right? If they understand each other better, just like we had the sisters on yesterday, when we understand certain things better, what do? We know better, we do better. And so it's all about, that empathy, not just for our lower self, but our higher self. Empathy all around, right? Just allowing for that exchange of information, of understanding between the two. So I'm gonna jump into the next one. This is an updated version of that, right? We're gonna watch this. It's not that long, and this is a beautiful experiment by Brain Kick Production. Shout out to Brain Kick Production. That first one, that's the classic Masaru Emoto water experiments that you can find anywhere. Just type that in. Japanese scientists did the water experiments. This one is Brain Kick Production, and they basically duplicated the experiment, using their own elements and things like that. Because actually, Masaru Emoto actually did a rice experiment as well, where he was demonstrating that the rice would spoil using kind of like similar methods with the wording and, frequency that people, I guess, believe it as. It's almost like we assign meaning to the frequency, right? So I told you, we're going to really get into this vibration thing. So let's jump right into the next one and just kind of round off this thought and just bring it to the modern reality where we are now. This happened last year. All right, so here we go.
Hi guys, so I just wanted to give you a quick roundup of my Masaru Emoto Rise experiment. 30 days has passed for these 5 containers to my right, 2 days for this to my left. The differences between them,
that was 10, he said.
Apart from the days, is that this has not been spoken or given any kind of emotion. There hasn't been like a direction, an intention, whereas this one I am actively speaking and trying to communicate my emotion to the best as my ability. I'm Italian, so I've used Italian language. This is a love message, I love you. This is a hate message. And the same thing I've done here. This is the love message. This is the hate message. Let's see the effect. And just wanted to say before jumping right into the result that all the containers have been cleaned in the same way. The rice is the same batch of rice cooked on the same day and just steamed and put inside each single container. I was also very curious to see how imagery, other than words, could have an effect. So I used some imagery which I consider to be some kind of good and evil, we can say dichotomy. And let's start from the images. I blackened the container to block other messages that were on the top of it. And the Padre Pio is the name of the saint, a very famous Italian saint. You can see, we can see it's pretty much spotless. It's white, and to the odor it's quite neutral. It doesn't have any particular note or something noticeable. The Adolf one, on the other hand, shows somewhat of a brownish, purplish, darker area, which I find really interesting to be in close relationship to the swastika symbol on his shirt. So this maybe could be also an indication of the power of a symbol over the single imagery of the person. Interesting, very very interesting and funny result as well. Now let's go on to the closed containers. This is the one that I was supposed to ignore, and as you could see, there is no message written on top of it. And I just let those containers sit in complete darkness in my wooden shelf. Sorry for the mess. This kitchen is not used for cooking, so I use that for my works and experiments. So I just let them sit for 30 days in the darkness, same temperature, same light, darkness condition. And so this is the first, which has been ignored. This is the second. This is the love one. And you can see they're pretty much equal and comparable. This has somewhat of a more fuzzy texture to it, whereas this kept some of the flatness. And by the way, the water that you see on top of it, I think it's due to the fact that I steamed the rice and then put it immediately inside the container, so there was a lot of water inside. These are with a little bit more, and in fact there isn't as much as the same amount of water inside. And this is the last one. This is the 8 container. Let me see if I can open it with only one hand. And right from the start, you can see, if I put it to the light, there is a difference in texture. There is something clearly growing inside, some kind of brownish mold of some kind, and the smell also is much more strong and unpleasant, I would subjectively say, compared to the love one, which has a more neutral kind of texture to it. So okay, this is my take on the experiment. Again, this is the love one, this is the hate one, side to side. This is the one that has been ignored, and this is the Hitler swastika Nazi experiment with a little brown spot. And last but not least, the one that I am actively speaking and sending emotions to. And those are just 10 days into the experiment, but already after 30 days I can see a darker spot appearing on this bottom side of the hate one. There isn't much else on the box, and here maybe you can see some yellow spot here and there. Maybe you can see one in the middle, but this is pretty much spotless. This is pretty much flat white, and this has a little bit of a darker spot to it. So this is it. I was very skeptical about this experiment. I try to keep my mind as open as possible about the results, and what I find to be really remarkable about it is that just a written word, just a written word can have an effect on matter. And not only, as Masuremoto always points out, an actual spoken word, a word spoken by a human being with an emotion attached to it, but just a written word, as well as an image, can have an effect on matter. I don't know what scientists can make out of this. I'm not claiming this to be any kind of scientific experiment. This is just a try it and see for yourself kind of experiment. And this could be also good news to the ones that wants to try themselves but are too afraid or weirded out by talking and hating or loving the rice. It feels pretty weird, but I can tell you, just by letting the rice sit for 30 days with just a written message on top of the container, if you want to try yourself, if you just have some leftover, you can take a glass, put some kind of enclosure, some kind of plastic wrapping on top of it just to close it, and let it sit inside your shelf for 30 days, and you can already achieve some kind of result if you're curious yourself. And the black spot that you're seeing on the lid of the 8 container, it's not a hole, it's just some little dirt which has been sitting there. So okay, don't worry. And so this is it. Thank you very much for your attention.
Right. So super, super, subjective information right there. I mean, obviously, I want you to think critically. So never, just someone just showing you some stuff that they say they did. Obviously, you can't just be like, oh, assume that's true. But we can assume that it's half true because all things are half true. Right. So, assuming that he's telling the truth on what he did, he duplicated Masaru Emoto's experiments. And so he's just showing that, what I believe to be true and what I've seen in reality to be true is that, first of all things are vibration, but also, there are frequencies of vibration. So those are the simple ways to describe like all of our life, movement, and interaction. As complex as it gets, like, we're walking down the street, we're crossing the street, watching for oncoming traffic, etc. Just utilizing the body within society. I mean, think about it. It's vibrations everywhere. And so some people experience things like they feel like they're lucky, or I find like when you feel optimistic, when you have optimism, your frequency travels further, it seems. I don't know. I don't know. That's just what it seems to me, because when, you find yourself in that good place, it seems like you find yourself around good things and you find yourself with opportunities and this and that. It's like, it matches. The frequency resonates. Because again, a good place, it could be just as simple as, it's the same thing as what you're seeking. So it's like you're seeking something good, and then right now you're in that place that you're seeking, right? So that's basically what he's saying is like, even the assigned value is a frequency. The assigned value, like the intention behind something, is some kind of relative frequency to the actual thing. So it's like you have the intent of the thing, and then you have the play out of the action. So those could be two different things. I could intend to throw a baseball right over the plate, perfectly over the plate, but it could not go perfectly over the plate. It could go off to the side against my intention. And oops, I made a mistake or something, So it'll be like a physical thing, an adjustment or something that's out of place, that it'll be against your intention, because you have a mental body and you have a physical body. With the mental body to the physical, it's less physical. It's the unseen part, and it's like vice versa for the mental. Obviously the physical is the seen part. So they go together. It's a dance. So even within yourself, you have this dance of vibration. So it's really all about the rhythm that you create, because as we saw with the opening video, there are many rhythms, many types of rhythm, but guess what? It's still dancing. Okay? It's still dancing. So when do people dance? People dance when they're in a good mood, right? Very rarely do you see someone dancing that's in a bad mood, right? So what does that mean? So, well, people dancing because they're in a good mood is telling you that, you reach congruency or harmony in the frequencies when they're vibrating, I guess, higher, or, you know, what's equivalent to good, you know, in your opinion, like, you know, when they're vibrating equivalent to good to you, that's harmony. So it's like, even in ourself, we have our mental and physical self. So it's a dance that's happening. And people think automatically that your mental and your physical are on the same page. But then all you have to do is look at your environment and the actions that you do. You know, look at the example, look at what you know, what you produce. Like what is the reflection around you? What is the vibe of the reflection, right? What is the vibe that's echoing back towards you that came from you in the first place? What is that vibe? And that's the hard questions right there. Those are the hard questions that people must ask themselves. Must tune in and, you know, to yourself and really check yourself at this time of, you know, right now at this space and time on Earth, it's time to check yourself. You really need to check yourself. You really need to see, what am I really doing? Am I really about this upper ascending life, or am I really on some destroy, you know, build, you know, it's a build or destroy kind of situation, sort of. Not to say, you know, it's directly related to like the 5%ers or whatever, right? Because I know they say destroy and build, but I mean, that's just the same effect, the seesaw, the wave pattern that we're about to get into a little more. Here it says, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Nikola Tesla. Well, the guy Nikola Tesla, you know, as we all know, as I'm sure most of us should know, basically was like this legendary inventor that, you know, got kind of played down and kind of, you know, didn't get it respected in his time for who he was. He didn't get respected from the reflections of himself, right? The people around him. So, you know, he kind of dwindled out. Well, you know, it just so happens, you know, never mind the largest company with the highest, you know, market cap in the game right now is Tesla. Never mind, you know, bearing the name of him, although I don't think he's benefiting from that, or his family or whatever. I'm not sure if he even had, you know, family, or I don't even know Tesla's whole story and everything like that. But I don't think that Elon Musk is related to Nikola Tesla. I'm not sure though. That it could be, but it's just the fact that, you know, he is celebrated. You know, first of all, I mean, the Tesla company doesn't really celebrate Nikola Tesla's ideas. It just celebrates Elon Musk's ideas, but it's called Tesla out of respect for the legendary guy that Tesla was. He was innovative. So Tesla, you know, is just paying homage to the innovation and, you know, creativity and just the workmanship and craftsmanship of Nikola Tesla. But it's not saying that, oh, what Tesla is doing is directly the work of Nikola Tesla or endorsed by Nikola Tesla. The truth is, you know, Nikola Tesla had a different idea. You know, we're talking about frequency vibration, right? Which is energy. Okay. Nikola Tesla, you know, believed in free energy, which is in line with the way things really operate in reality. See, the thing that we do in the vibration of humans in society, when you see that vibration, I mean, we have to be looking at one of these ones that they showed that was like polluted water or something like that, right? Because, I mean, we claim our cities are pollutants, you know, we pollute the air, but, you know, it's just so much disorganization and like people just, you know, on a materialistic pursuit. And so, again, guys, this is related to your vibration. You know, like if you find yourself, you know, you're like, hey, but all this upward Taurus, downward Taurus action, how do I know which way I'm supposed to be traveling? Like, how do I know how to switch the gears or which gears yeah, that's how you know it's your vibration. And so, once again, it's your vibration. So really, you can look at your vibration as your perception, and that's what makes me think when it comes to the Masamoto experiments, the water experiments, and the rice experiments. It makes me think that perhaps it's the perception of those ideas that is really the cause of the effect. Like, cause it's like, okay, the words affect it, with the picture on it affects it, the intention. So I think those all relate to each other and your perception of that thing. So like if you're just, influencing the perception of it. But I mean, I think that only goes so far, It only goes so far. So let's continue. Let me continue here. Let me see. What do we have next here? I wanted to get into just kind of demonstrating some things too, because what it was showing to, another part of that was that the geometric patterns of the crystals that the water was making, that was forming on that level, right? When you zoomed into it, it was organizing in these different geometric patterns when it was harmonious, right? Because look, there was different versions of harmony. So it wasn't just like, oh, there's only one harmony and we just see one perfect geometric pattern for the things that are vibrating in harmony. And then for the things that are not vibrating in harmony, we see, the glob and different things and stuff like that. Just like whatever, right? Disorganization and things of this nature. It's showing that not only is vibration, the determining factor, but I mean, it actually shapes, certain aspects of things. So things can, manifest in a way that appears to be the same way, but a different frequency. And I don't want to get too deep right now. I'm not going to get too deep right now on that. But just for those who can catch that, what I'm basically saying is, matter constructed of different types of atoms. So like we're looking at light-based matter, having different, frequencies of existence that we might experience from our physical form as like rocks, sand, air, water, this and that. But this same, light-based matter is everywhere. It's like what heavens are made of. It's like but see what it is, like if you compare it like to heaven, the different type of matter is the difference. It's like, what I mean by type is what is it coming together on the small level, making the bigger thing, right? Like if you examined it closer, what is it made out of? That's what I mean by type. Like it's made out of a certain rhythm or amalgamation of whatever it is, right? Like for instance, we have water. It's made out of H2O, right? 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen, right? And so you looking at the construction, like I don't want to say, construction, or however you want to put it, like the manifestation, the existence of the body of it. So now, with that being said, talking about matter, right? But see, what we'll all eventually understand and catch up to, like Nikola Tesla said, you want to know the secrets of the universe, energy, frequency, and vibration. Now, first of all, that's not a secret. That's only a secret because certain people feel like they need to control. Remember, control is a materialistic pursuit. So this is all relating to vibration. I had to bust a left on it. Like it's not going to just be simple, right? But it is though. So remember, complexity is simplicity. So it's like, if we look at this, right? What is a secret? A secret is something that's being held away from you. That's because people are trying to control things that are not theirs to control. I'm not saying Nikola Tesla was doing that. He's just speaking like, with his common, language. He's like, You want to know what the secrets of the universe, because they're probably pursuing this idea of the secrets of the universe at the time or something. Who knows, right? So he's just being him. He's just saying what he's saying. But what I'm saying is, you know, it's not a secret. It's not a secret because it's not being kept from you. You're just not aware of it. So what does that mean? Well, that means it's a mystery. But then if it's a mystery, then what happens when I discover the mystery? Well, it's no longer a mystery. And that's why I said on the last stream, it will be a surprise. Because now your heart can be full of joy knowing the grand design of this thing that you are on a larger level, that you are a part of in a very intimate way. So it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. So, you know, this is all vibration based. So when I talk about vibration, this is at the center of this thing, man. Vibration is like what determines your experience of this reality. This is real deal. This is not something to scoff at. You know, vibration is not something to, shoo away or not pay attention to, because guess what? This is your peace. This is your balance. You know, this is your nutrition, right? Because guess what, guys? To be properly in proper nutrition, nutritional balance. Yeah, you got to have a balanced diet. You got to eat properly according to you and who you are. You got to eat properly according to yourself. You know, that's balance. That's vibration. It's all vibration. All it is we're not looking at it as vibrations, just like we're not looking at the computer screen as ones and zeros and ones. You know, we don't see it as binary code, but guess what? Vibration is the binary code of the universe, right? That's the ones and zeros. It's the vibration. So I want to get a little bit into that a little more. Yeah, we had that. We're going to get into the next one. Yeah. So let's get into this one right here. Because what we're going to see is that I'm showing you the relationship of vibration, right? Like these brothers are showing you that vibration creates matter. Like matter, what we're thinking of as solid matter, we're going to break this all the way down, guys. This is what we're doing right now. We're breaking this all the way down for anyone that sees this now or in the future. We're going to show you how matter is not matter. I mean, it's easy to say that, right? It's easy to say that, but we're going to literally show you this right now. So this is one example, all right? Yeah. For those that know, I could talk through this video. It's not a big deal. I don't think they're talking, so I'm not going to interrupt them. Cymatics. We know what cymatics are, but just think of the implications, right? Like, for those that already know this, like I said, just a refresher. I mean, but perhaps I can help you see it in a different way, right? Because, we got to think critically. So when we look at this, right, quickly we see, these things manipulated by the waves, by the sound waves. We see this, right? But it just shows you the interaction of waves. So what is this showing you? What is this showing you? Well, it's kind of showing you the same thing that the Masaru Emoto experiment showed you, which is that, frequency is everything. Matter is based on frequency, is based on vibration. So when we're dealing with matter, we're dealing with the very small constructions of matter. Because you're looking at this and you're seeing like all this salt shifting based on the waves and interaction of waves and things, right? But you got to think of the implications of this and those interference patterns, however you want to look at it, the wave patterns. Think about that. So everything is vibrating on this different frequency, creating the different wave patterns that create the actual formation that creates the the blueprint for, or the foundation for the skeleton for the matter. It creates the skeleton for the matter. And, you know, attraction is involved, you know, electromagnetism, obviously. But this is just a simple example demonstrating types of vibration, right? Because we got to realize something about vibration, that it's one and all, you know, it's the one and all, and therefore it's nothing, right? So it's everything. So if it's everything, it's nothing, it's back at the zero, but it is everything though. And so we constantly, you know, see the demonstration of shapes being formed. This is letting us know that these types of structures in reality are influenced and, in fact, created by wave and frequency patterns, frequency interference and frequency patterns. So we can see and with our own eyes, and what Cymatics really shows us, what makes it so amazing that it gets, you know, 18 million views on this video, is because people understand how amazing this is. To you know, you may look at this and you may say, hey, you know, this is just salt on a metal plate being shaken at a certain resonance or certain frequency that it creates interference patterns with itself and stuff like that. But no, it's a little deeper than that, actually. This is deeper than that. So if that's what you think, that's not quite it. So I would encourage you to, you know, look further into cymatics, but I'll do my best to kind of help you understand, like, you know, this is the structure of matter. That is the structure of reality. But see, it's all wave based. You know, it's wave based. So what we're finding is it's layers, just like it's layers of water. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen those videos where a person is diving and they're diving in the water, you know, like they're diving in the water and there's water in the water. I mean to say, like there's like water in the water, like they're in the water and at the bottom, like they're at some bottom of some like shallow, you know, part. I've seen multiple videos of this and it's insane. It's like water in the water, guys. Like they splash it. They're literally splashing a puddle of water while they're underwater. So, you know, that shows you, what does that show you? That's layers, right? It's showing you the layers, the frequencies, is that there's layered frequencies of this thing. And, you know, when you get into binary code, I mean, it really shows you a lot, because it's simple. It's based on two simple actions, which is exactly how this particular universe or this perception of our universe is working. It's working off that torus field, and that's a double direction, but it goes into multi dimensions, and it's constantly in rotation. And so frequency relates to that torus field. And so I promise, vibration is very important to our existence. And at the end of the day, if that's the path that we're on of knowing these things, and you know, because I mean, honestly, what are we doing? It's really kind of, life is kind of showing you at this point. It's either one way or the other. Not to say it like that, because of course that's kind of a rough perception, but it's one way or the other. You know, when you look at things, when you open your mind, right, and you open your third eye, and you really see this, what you see is materialism, the direction of materialism. It's all about the direction you're traveling, or the direction away from it towards something else that appears to be unseen, but is really the next materialism, but on a higher level, you know. And that sounds crazy, you know. I'm not doing a good job of explaining that, but you know what I'm trying to say is like it's different vibes. So when you're pursuing and you're pursuing the upward motion of the torus, and your chakras are going up, your vibrations become in harmony and in sync. That's what we're seeing with these experiments, like, you know, harmonious frequencies and different, you know, positive words, which you would say is harmony, right? Because hey, look, if I say something positive to people, or if I say something positive to someone, I should, I'm most likely going to get a positive response. Not to say every single time, but like you're most likely going to get a positive response, and perhaps you'll help that person, feel better, or be able to communicate with you. And then now it's a harmonious exchange, right? You set the tone through positivity, through the optimism. Boom. That's what I'm trying to show you. Is like it works like that with your frequency, like your vibration, right? Your internal vibration. You have to set that tone. You got to set that tone. And so we can't think that we're just out here just loosely vibrating, because then that's not awareness. See, we only think things happen randomly when we're not aware, which to us, it does, it happens randomly and it doesn't matter, because you're right. On one end of the stick, it doesn't matter, because that's the end of the stick that leads into fading away and disappearing. That's why we have a cycle that includes both things, right? Because in this cycle of light-based creation, we're coming into material reality, but we're actually light-based. But we have this perception of physical matter or whatever what we call it. But at the end of the day, the whole reality, is based on light. And so, that is the temporary part of the movement through time of existing, right? And so we end up dying, right? We end up dying. That's the natural cycle. That's the natural process. Why do you die? Because why do you live, right? Because at the end of the day, you came from nothing. And so to nothing you return. And that's what it is, guys. So it's like, that's the cycle. That's the normal cycle. That's not something that's spooky or any of that. See, again, remember, it's all about how your perception is, right? It's your perception of it. So if you see it as spooky, now remember the experiments, now it applies that, you're applying that meaning to it. It's like you're you're sticking a sticker on it. Like, okay, boom, it means that now to me, in your reality. And guess what? If you're the reality that's influencing it only, then it's going to be bound to your meaning of it. You know what I'm saying? And just organically respond, right? Because it's not something about like, oh, I can just put what I want and just magically see. You got to get out of the magic thing. The magic thing is control. That's you seeking to control, right? You want to control. So you got to relax on the magic. Like, it's not about that, because magic is a natural process. All magic is the organic process of light coming into being and then going back out of being. And that's the whole cycle I'm talking about of life. That's the cycle of life. So what you want to do is you want your cycle to be a positive cycle, so to speak, right? Just using the common terms. And so you want it to be positive and good and all this, right? High vibrational, so you can go up. Or, if it's not that and it's about yourself a lot, like your physical self, not yourself in the sense of the greater self of all of us, but I'm talking about like the Most High, not that. I'm talking about like your physical self, like you're only you as a separate entity, right? So what you're doing is now you're dividing it into deeper dimensions. And so what you're doing is, you're engaging in separation. But look, you can never escape. Like I was telling one of the sisters the other day, I think yesterday or the day before or something, I was telling the sister that, she was like, I don't like when people, leave God out or leave, the higher power out, leave the Most High out. And I was like, people can pretend, I was saying that people, can't escape God. They can only pretend to. And that's the truth. And what I mean by God, I don't mean any fancy religious term or anything like that. I mean the higher power. I mean the source, right? This is coming from a source. This is all emanating from a source. You can call that the creator, right? Because it's the source of it, right? So you can say that's the creator of it, right? So you can say the creator. You can say the creator, like the one, which we all are that microcosm of, right? And so we have our experience, we have our vision, and we have our energy field. That's the part that we don't see, but we got to get familiar with that. We got to get familiar with these unseen parts like vibration in the energy field. That's part of the purpose of this. Certain people need to understand, like, this is the part you don't see because you're more than what you can see. You understand? So just because your physical eyes see in the physical dimension doesn't mean your other aspects don't do what they do in the other dimension that they do it in. And, that's not something I'm going to be able to break down really far and explain, because it's just a personal experience. At the end of the day, it's we're all on this journey of self-discovery, which is realization of self. And we got to have that positive image of ourselves, so to speak. When we really realize that we're one on a massive scale, we really have to have a positive image of ourselves, because that's really what determines, just the call, it just shows us the state of things, right? It just shows us the state of things, because I don't want to make it seem like, oh, just because you have a positive image, it magically means like, oh, da 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 da. No. What I'm saying is just the positive image is just a reflection to show you the state of things. So if you have a positive image, that means it's a positive state of things. So things are positive. So that's the whole thing about it. But, with that negative and the fear energy, that's also valid. It's also valid. But what I'm trying to show you is that's always a shadow. So we're still dealing with vibration. So you can't fathom it. So if you're thinking like, oh, a high pitch vibration, like a person that sings high and then a person that sings low, that means good or bad. No, you're wrong. See, you're seeing it wrong. So I know somebody may be tempted to see it like that, but that's actually not the case. It's not about, the high pitch vibration of music and then the low pitch vibration of music. It's about what direction and apparently for harmony, it's about the horizontal aspect of it, as far as like the things that the notes beside each other going together type thing, merging together. So it's that horizontal spin of the torus where it's about the things around you, merging together and stuff. So, it's also about the inherent nature of the notes that are creating the harmony. So, it's just easy. It's like the same notes, it's like the notes beside each other type of thing. Like, and it's really deeper harmonies that people don't even realize. And really, I'm gonna keep it real. This discord or like, no pun intended, or like disharmony, which I didn't really like the name of this app for that reason, but I feel like we bring it into harmony. So if it's at disharmony, we bring it into harmony. And so this harmony is a deeper harmony. It's a deeper harmony though. I'm just being real. Like, I'm not glorifying, I'm not telling you to vibrate on that level, like to go in like that. I'm just telling you that it's still a harmony, because that's what we've learned is that, that lower self, that shadow self, guess what? It's still a part of that self, whether you want it to be or not. It is. So that is still a harmony. Even that what we think is not a harmony, like even that what they showed on the image, like the polluted water compared to the like crystal of like the clean water and stuff. Even that polluted water and the chaos of it is actually still a deeper harmony. It's still a deeper level of harmony happening, but that it just experienced it in that way. So you experience it in a separated, broken, kind of way when we go more into materialism. That's why when we look at, the agenda and the other side of the coin, that way of the new world, these guys, they want to create, chips and, numbers on you, and different things to assign you. I mean, we already have that kind of stuff, but they want to just kind of do you a favor and make it more easy for you. That's really what they want to do. They want to just make it more easy for you. So they're like, hey, you already have a social, you have a birth certificate. These things were done on purpose. So they naturally lead up to what they're leading up to. And that's that vision of it. But then we have another vision where on the other vision or the other direction of the torus field, that's not what's happening. You're free. You're free. Everything's free. You belong. Your reality is about exploring reality. It's not about being a slave. It's not about being lesser than anybody, needing to idolize anybody. It's not about any of that. It's not about looking at anybody as greater than you or lesser than you. It's not about that. It's about seeing the reflection, and not just one or two people seeing the reflection and everybody else being trapped in madness. That's not how it works. It's the whole reflection. Everybody seeing the reflection. Imagine. So when we have everyone seeing the reflection of each other as each other, now that's the oneness that resets us to the positive zero. And so this is all frequency based too, you know? It's frequency based, because remember, the frequency is just as we're going to get into, I think it's the next video that I want to show. The frequency base is just, you know, the up and down of the wave, right? It's the movement of the wave as perceived. So I'll take that moment to kind of went on a little bit of a rant, but it was relevant though. I'll take that moment to go ahead and shift into the next one. Boom.
It's a vibration that travels through a medium, like air or water. If you drop a rock into a bucket of water, you disturb the surface of the water and create ripples or waves which travel away from the impact. The ripples cause the height of the water to change, going up and down, as the wave moves away from the splash. These waves are visible with our eyes and have a number of properties. They have a maximum point, called a crest, a minimum point, called a trough. They have a wavelength, which is the distance from a particular crest to the next one. They have an amplitude, which is the distance from the center line to the top of a crest or to the bottom of a trough. They have a frequency, which is the number of waves that pass a fixed point per second. They have a speed, which is just wavelength times frequency. And they have a direction. Sound waves are similar. If you clap your hands in a quiet room, you will disturb the air and cause ripples of air to move away from your hands. The clap disturbs the air molecules near your hands. These molecules then bounce into other nearby molecules, and so on, so that the disturbance moves through the air like a wave, a sound wave. But sound waves are different to water waves in one respect. Water waves are transverse. This means that as the wave is moving in one direction, say to the right, it's creating a disturbance in the perpendicular direction, so up and down. Sound waves, on the other hand, are longitudinal. This means that as the wave is moving in one direction, say to the right, it's creating a disturbance in that same direction, so left to right. A transverse wave coming from behind lifts you up and then drops you down like a boat in the ocean, while a longitudinal wave coming from behind pushes you forward and then pulls you back like a spring. But when representing sound waves graphically, it's easier to draw them as transverse waves, so that it just looks like a regular sine graph. But really, this sine wave is the motion of the air particle as it travels through time. Another way of presenting this is that the low points on the sine wave are where air particles are spread far apart, and the high points on the sine wave are where air particles are bunched together. Sound waves cause changes in air pressure as particles bunch together and spread apart. Now we can't see these ripples, but our ears can hear them. When the waves reach our ears, the air pressure goes up and down, and this makes our eardrums go in and out at the same rate. Our brain analyzes these signals and interprets them as sound. Otherwise, sound waves have all the same features as water waves. They have a speed, which is naturally the speed of sound, or roughly 343 meters per second through air. And they have a frequency and a wavelength, which determines the pitch of the sound, where the shorter the wavelength, the higher the frequency, and the higher the pitch of the note. And they have an amplitude, which is the energy of the wave, and affects the volume of the sound, though it's actually a bit more complex than this. In the next few videos, we'll go into these topics in a bit more depth.
All right. So, yeah, just trying to get a very good video. I mean, that was like one of the best breakdowns I saw. That was a pretty short video. I thought he did an excellent job. who was that? That was let me go back. Who was that? Walk the Bass. That was Walk the Bass. Excellent breakdown on sound. Here we have Bozeman Science. This guy's amazing. It's just simple things that to help you grasp bigger picture. So what we're doing is like when we look at a video or something like that, we're taking that information and we're putting that piece into our greater puzzle. So it's just a piece of information. We're kind of getting our knowledge on it real quick. We're reminding ourselves, we're getting that foundation again. And so that we can complete a very clear picture, a bigger picture, and see, you know, what vibration really is. So as we just saw, sound is one form of vibration. And what we saw, just real quick as a quick recap for those that may have found that to be kind of science oriented or whatever, too much science jargon, or it was kind of technical. You know, it's just that two-way movement, as we saw, like when you saw the top of the wave and then the bottom of the wave, boom, 1 2 1, you know, or 0 1, excuse me, 0 1 0 1. You know, we say 1 2 1 2, but it's actually, you know, 0 1 0 1. And I was noticing a few things, and I do feel like there have been attempts to just materialize our thinking more. And I know that's pretty deep, but I really mean that. Like, I mean, we can clearly see that, though. I don't really have to really stand on the hill for that. I mean, that's obvious. I mean, we see people have the common phrase, sex sells. Well, that's materializing, right? That's the material realm based. It's that lower chakra. So sex sells, lower chakra. You know, we have these lower vibrational kind of situations that have been pushed to the forefront. And we see this. This is not even something that I even have to explain. I mean, people definitely see this in their lives, 100%. If you don't see it, it's just maybe you're not aware. You know, you're just not aware that it's around you, but it's there. Trust me. You know, so it's just about perceiving these things. Because remember, to travel towards something, you must travel away from something. Because again, it's all about movement. But remember, movement, if you want to say movement's not real or it's not really there, well, then nothing is real and nothing is really there. But if you're not saying that, then in the moment that you're not saying that, then movement is real. So movement is happening, half happening. it's going. And so, you know, what direction are you moving? And so we need to check our frequencies, check our vibrations. Is it really a love vibration? Is that what we're really experiencing? Is that what we're really emitting or putting out? Because remember, guys, when we take these higher vibrations, they tend to reach further. There's many examples of that in our everyday life. We can just look around, you know, certain songs that are like high vibrational that everyone can enjoy, right? We have those songs, they reach everywhere, and certain songs only reach a certain market, right? That's just a simple example. Like, yeah, everyone can react to a certain like type of song because it's just something that everyone can relate to. That's a high vibration, you know? And the other things and the other stuff is all more about myself, you know? It's about myself. It's like we're talking about, oh yeah, it's about myself. And so the true self and the true recognition of self is to understand that yourself is the greater self. That's who you are. You is us. It's all of us. It's we are us. You know, we are us. But, you know, I am us. You know, you can interchange these things because there's a level of existence where we are one. And so that's the part that you move towards. That's the crown chakra, where you expand the 1,000-petal lotus. You realize like, oh, 1,000 directions. I look and I see a reflection. I see a reflection in 1,000 directions. You know? And so that's the beauty of it. it's quite beautiful. It's cosmically, eternally stunning, right? When we recognize ourselves in the things around us, and that's actually, you know, that vibration that brings it into harmony, that brings things into harmony. When you, I mean, how could you not be in harmony with something you see as yourself? Like the brother was talking on the previous streams, he was saying, you know, Bruce Lee always said, be like water. This is true. Be like water. Be like water. Flow. You know, take the shape of things. Don't be trapped. Don't be trapped. Don't be, cut off, or don't be, motionless. Be fluid. And because why be fluent? Because, well, that's the nature of energy. Energy is fluent. That's the nature of vibration. And therein lies the part, or lays the part. I don't really like saying lies. I know the English language flips words and has crazy stuff going on. You know, you say therein lies the problem. Like, why are we saying lies? But, that's how they do it. So I say lays, and that's grammatically incorrect, but oh well. Therein lays the problem. Because again, it's the what's the word I'm looking for? Convention. It's the convention of the word. That's the greater intention. It's like what we all consider that. Like when we all say shit, we kind of all get a certain vibe from that, because that's what we all see it as. It's that point where that thing is that point where we all see it as that. So we say profanity, and people, we all see it as profanity, right? We most of us that know that language, if we actually speak that language and it has profanity in that language, we know what is the profanity in that language, because we speak that language. We know which words are like profanity, as they say, as they call it. So-called profanity, right? But again, these are words that we assign the meaning to, right? These are the meanings that are assigned to the word. So this is what changes the shape of dynamics. It's like changing the frequency, because just like the ones and zeros, it's still ones and zeros, even though you can make a complex picture out of it, and we can make a computer monitor or a flat screen TV screen, or we can make whatever we want to make out of it, that's displaying an image of reality. But at the end of the day, it's all ones and zeros and ones, I should say. It's all zeros and ones. It's zeros and ones. Either way. I mean, literally, like, you can still view everything in its binary form, right? So that's what we're saying with vibration. It's all vibration. So you got to keep track of your vibration. What are you listening to? How you're like, hey, how do I change my vibration? Like, how do I ensure that my vibration is high? Because, hey, I want to be moving. Because remember, vibration is energy and movement, right? So it's telling you what is it telling you? It's telling you which direction that you're moving in. So when your vibration is high, now you're moving upward, right? Doesn't that make sense? And then if your vibration is low, you're moving downward, right? In the torus field. But see, when you're moving in a direction in the torus field, experience comes with that. An experience of a certain reality comes with that. All these different things come with that, right? So that's why it's important. That's why it's important. So, just one sec. Just got a message here. Just one moment. Okay. I'll handle that in just a moment. But yeah, it's the direction that you're moving in. So that's one of the main key things about vibration and why it's so important to you, because it's like looking out your car window and knowing that you're going forward and not backwards. It's like, that's how important vibration is to you. You like imagine if you looked out your car window and you thought you were going the opposite direction that you were actually going. That would probably be disastrous, maybe. It would probably be bad, maybe. I'm willing to bet you're probably going to crash into something pretty quickly. Unless you're just like the super driver, but eventually, I don't know. I would like to see it. Someone not crash into something and just keep driving a long distance around a city or something like that. I mean, it's anything's possible. So I mean, what I'm saying is like, why is it important to know the direction that you're going? Well, if you want to go to the right place and not what you think as the wrong place, because look, nothing's ever the wrong place. Even if you think it's the wrong place, it's actually not the wrong place though. You just have the perception that it's the wrong place. And see, that shows you when you go into that downward motion, it goes interdimensional, meaning less dimensions. Because now it becomes more subjective. Because, when you go into the wrong place, but when you go into the right place, that's like everybody agrees on that. It's like, yeah, I'm at the right place. Anyone can agree. But if you're at the wrong place, it can be a disagreement because you're like, well, even if it's the wrong place, it's the right place because I'm supposed to be here right now. Or you might be someone that just says, well, it's the wrong place because I just don't like it here right now. So I don't want to get too deep on that. I hope, whoever hears this can understand what I'm trying to convey here. You want to know the direction that you're going because you don't want to go into a lesser dimension of more shadow-based ideas, right? So that's what vibration is ultimately relating to. You're rising up your chakras. Once again, you're rising up your chakras, right? You're coming from the red chakra of hell. Or, I'm just saying it like that. That's not technically true. Okay. That's just what it is. The red chakra is material reality. It's more concrete. It's more dense. It's heavy. It's more solid, right? It's more like weigh you down, So here on the realm that we're in, that's especially the case. So boom, we experience it how we experience it, right? So like if you go to the chakra, the red chakra or the root, let's just say the equivalent of the root chakra, which would be a different color, but let's just say for the sake of, keeping this simple, the equivalent of the root chakra in heaven, right? In the heavenly realm, right? It's going to be a little different because once again, like I was saying at the beginning, it's what the light, behaves as, so to speak. It's like, remember, all these different elements are elements of light. Without light, none of these elements are there, or experienced, so to speak. We don't have that experience. And I know, like, for some people that may be deep for them, like, oh, yo, how can you say everything is light? And that's something that I hope to build towards. That's kind of not where I wanted to go with this build, but that is something that I can definitely build on. But I have built on it just now, but it doesn't really matter when it comes to vibration. It kind of does though. So I guess we could take a closer look at it. It's not a problem. Light is matter once again, because what matter is a denser concentration of light, reflecting itself. And so, again, this is kind of side talk according to what I'm actually presenting, which is vibration. But in this side talk, I would just urge you to look into this yourself and, do your own due diligence and just hear me out for what I'm saying about it. And then just take that and do your due diligence with it. Cause I don't have anything pulled up for that, but, I will just say, just to kind of complete the thought, because I do want the family, to follow where I'm going with this. So, basically, light is is the construction of all reality. So everything is born from light. That's why we have the perception of coming out of darkness into light, et cetera, et cetera. If we look at our, we see light on the sperm cell, what I'm saying? It's like we find light in the smallest places. Like everything is born of light. Like the only problem is it's difficult for humans to detect these lights, this level of light, because it's on different frequencies sometimes. And so that's what I'm talking about, is like the different frequencies. So an example of that, right, is visible light, right? The visible light spectrum. And the visible light spectrum is just a small portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. I'm going to pull some of that up in just a moment. But it's just a small portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. Let me see if I can just pull that up just quickly here. Yeah, this is it. Let me see here. So just to kind of get a little bit of visual going here, electromagnetic spectrum. All right, so when we look at the visible light, what we consider our vision and what enables our vision, and what basically determines the things we see in the world around us, right? We can say that much. Some people are still skeptical. They're like, hey, but that doesn't mean that the rock is not there if it's no light. That's not what I'm saying, though. See what I'm trying to tell you is it's a different level of light. Just like you have different water in water, like really air is kind of a different water, it's a different medium. And so, but actually there's water in water, like I explained earlier, and you can look this up yourself. Like, again, I'll see if I can pull it up real quick since I'm already doing it. But, it is healthy to do your own due diligence. It's healthy to do your own due diligence. So I will do this, though, since I'm already giving this presentation. I don't have a time limit, so let me look here. Well, actually, let me see. Yeah, I don't have a time limit. But of course, that's half true. I mean, eventually it will end, so that there is a time limit. So that's how we have to see things, guys. We have to learn how to start understanding where things unify, where the harmony happens. This is raising our vibrations and preparing us, to see each other as that true reflection that will allow us to be in line with what I call the truth. We call the upward motion of the torus the truth. We call the downward motion of the torus the lie. Now, is it technically the lie? It manifests as the lie, guys. That's what I'm trying to show you. It's like when you go downward on the torus, it's manifesting as the lie. That's that vibration we're talking about. When we say lower vibration, we're not talking about baritone. Although baritone is an example of a lower vibration compared to other vibrations. So that's the part you can compare. But it's not to say that what we consider baritone with human vocals is a bad or good thing, because remember, we're in the same reality right now. So that's what we have to realize about the different humans that we see, the different types of humans. We're all in the same reality right now. So that already tells you what it is. So you can stop pretending. So all that, oh, this person is better than that person. Well, guess what, guys? You're in the same realm of existence right now, period. So what can you say? What that mean? So, oh, you was the ancestors, this and that, da-da-da, or you was the supremacy person, or whatever people try to say. What does that mean when you're in the same reality? Okay, oh, this person has an illusion that they're better because they're riches or this or that. I mean that's delusion, because at the end of the day, they're still a human being, and they'll still go out like Rockefeller. No disrespect, not even disrespecting. I'm just saying though, because I just said him because that's an example of somebody that was clearly, I guess, afraid of death or didn't want to die. I mean, when you have multiple heart transplants and stuff like that, you don't want to die. That's not even an insult. Like, I'm just mentioning what actually happened, and and so apparently this guy did not want to die for whatever reason. Perhaps he felt like he had more work or this or that. But guys, this is that lower pursuit, that lower vibration, so to speak. When we say, oh, high vibrations, low vibrations, just think direction of torrent, direction of torus field, torrent. So where you see it, the toroidal, the direction of the toroidal field, that's what's determining your experience in reality. That's what people got to realize. But see, when I say that, I don't expect everybody to immediately get that. That's why I'm doing this for YouTube right now for later. But, this is just an introduction to very simple part of yourself, actually. And that's what I want everybody to realize is that, when we get into this stuff, man, this is about us or you. Like, when I say you and when I say me, I'm talking about the us, which is the self, the ultimate self. I look at that as a one thing. It's a self. Now, like one of the brothers was building on Clubhouse earlier, and he said some fantastic things. And he was just telling the people about how, of course, there are people that are traveling in a very major way on the Earth's, downward toroidal field, or so to speak, toroidal motion, I should say, that direction. And so their experience is, they're trying to do this new world order and all of that, and they're trying to bring that together and unify and make the one that becomes the zero. That happens either way, whether it's positive or negative reality. When the one becomes the one, now it's the zero, straight up. So that's going to happen. So what we have to realize is, what direction are we going when we do that? And so we want to be going, from my standpoint, where I'm, the direction that I'm going is the upward motion. I'm encouraging that we go the upward motion. That's what I'm encouraging to the family and everyone. But of course, I know I'm not, that lost. I know that, everybody's not going to go the upward direction, obviously, right? But it's just for the people to kind of, when you start realizing how things are working, that's no longer upward or downward no more. Now, that's that middle ground, that original zero, that perfect zero, where it's not positive zero or negative zero. It's a perfect zero. So you found that balance that allows you to really see it for what it is. So when you can see that harmony, you can see it for what it is. When you see that masculine and feminine dance, and man, you see it for what it is, man. Like, you really see dance for what dance is, right? Because what is dance? Just the mimicking of sex, right? And this is not graphic content. We're not being graphic. We're just talking simple terms right now. This is reality, guys. I mean, we got to be able to just face reality. This is nothing, understand why, we have these thoughts. If our mind goes to a graphic place, realize why that happens, and that's where we find the change. Because when they told you that when you know better, you do better, they really gave you something good there. When the ancestors said that, they gave you something golden. Like, they gave you some real jewels, some real actual gems when they said that, because it's not about, having to figure it out, guys. This is what I'm trying to show you. Catch the vibe, right? Pun intended. Catch the vibe. This is not about trying to figure every little thing out. This is about catching the vibe, meaning you know better, you do better. It's like you're going to do better. You have to know that. So when you actually know better, you actually do better. That's what it is. So it's about pointing yourself in the right direction, because guess what? You're always going to move. You're always going to be in motion. So it's about being in the proper motion, pointing yourself in the right direction. That's the direction. That's the importance of vibration, because vibration is determining what? Your direction. So what does that mean? When you know better, you do better. So that means, vibrational terms, that means when I recognize the positive vibration or the underlying, because look, if you're becoming the positive one and creating the positive zero, and that's the direction you're going in the Taurus, and that's your reality, that means everything's positive. So you're recognizing the truth on your end. So you're recognizing what is true. So you're like, okay, well, I recognize the positive, and I see the real positive answer that, oh, we're all actually one in a positive way, like in a good way. Like, we're all equal. Like, we should treat each other better, like nobody's better than anybody. Like, we're all the same, like in that way, like not in a slave way, not in a bad way. Cause then that's the other end of it. That's when you're going the other way. But in a positive direction, you see it as positive. So when you acknowledge that, it keeps you going in that direction. And that's what you want. You want to always be, you're going to come back to the lower part. That's not saying you're going to always avoid lower. You're going to come back, but guess what? You're always going to be going up past that. It's a difference of going down towards that. And so what happens is, how important is that? Because you might say, well, who cares? I might want to go on one way for one life and then another way on another life. Like, who cares, right? So, yeah, so, okay. So what's the importance of that then, right? What's the importance of the direction? Well, this is the importance of the direction, right? It's only the thing that all the religions talk about, like the afterlife and, how you exist and this and that, like how your higher self exists, right? So think of that. So if you want to call it the afterlife, but really it's the simultaneous life, but we're not going to get too deep into all of that. So, how you exist in the so-called afterlife, or the other dimensional aspect of your self-life that you become more aware of when you're not focused on this material realm reality version of yourself. That life is that's determined the same way that this was determined, So then you live in a reality that's, again, with the actual reality on the lower part of the torus, same way, just a higher vibrational reality. But guess what, guys? If your torus field is traveling down, guess where you think you get to spend your afterlife? Like, where do you think you get to, wake up to when you die here? So, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. Like, okay, so if your torus is operating what we call normal, if your torus is operating upward in what we call normal, and that's just what I call it, and the people or the beings with me, if you're going upward and is doing some heavenly stuff, guess what? That's what the afterlife tells you. Oh, you're gonna go to or that's what the religions and stuff tell the followers and stuff. They tell them, like, oh, you're gonna go to heaven. You're gonna go to heaven because why? Because, oh, like the feather of my eye, your heart was lighter than the feather of my eye, which my eye represented justice and balance and morality. That therefore, there were the 42 negative confessions to demonstrate that morality. And that was the way to keep your heart lighter than the feather of my eye. You know what I'm saying? So your heart had to be on the good side of balance, on the side of balance that was, pro harmony, pro balance, like to engage in that balance, or lighter than the feather of my eye, which is perfect balance. So, you're on the upward swing of things, right? So since you're on the upward swing of things, you were rewarded with this is just other people's beliefs, but I'm just trying to show you how everybody believes the same stuff. And it's like, oh, when you pass your religion, if you did good and you help people, because all the religions tell you the good stuff, it's just people just do what they want to do. Like, they literally just do what they want to do. Like, even like Islam and all that stuff, like, it tells people good stuff to do. It tells you, like, be good and stuff. Like, even in the Hindi religions and all these different faith systems, it tells you to be good. In Buddhism, it tells you you could be neutral. You could be neutral and release attachment and all of that. But, and that's a different story, talking about not rotating in the torus field. But right now, this is about vibration and the actual movement of the torus field. And so we're perceiving that we're at the point where we're already moving. And so we want to be moving in a positive direction, not a so-called negative direction, and so what it becomes is about the self. The ego, when people are like, oh, you're low vibes, man. Like, oh, that's low vibrational. They're talking about materialistic pursuits that are engaging the personal self, the personal ego, just to be clear. And I don't want to get stuck on this too long. I think I've been talking on this part too long. But sorry about that. But I felt that was important to really describe. And so, we look at the electromagnetic spectrum, we see that it's waves. It's a wavelength, first of all. But what's the other thing that we see? We see that our visible spectrum is what? Just a small part of the greater electromagnetic spectrum that we can actually measure, right? We can actually measure this, right? So we see there's a bigger spectrum and we see just a part of it, right? And this is our beloved rainbow that we know of, that we watch, it bend across the sky or, whatever, right? We see these colors as in various emanations throughout our entire existence. Throughout our entire existence, this is what we see in this realm. So guess what, guys? Look at all this light spectrum, and we just see this part. What do you think the rest of this light spectrum is? Come on now. We can't be that naive, right? These are other realms of existence. Let's not be naive. But, we got things that can see things and this and that, and we can't see the whole realm, though. We can't, like with the infrared technology, we can't see the whole realm. We can tap into it a little bit. We can tap into certain things. So do you think other realms can tap into this realm? Do you think other realms include this realm, in certain ways? So this is what it's all about. It's all about the vibration that is, the direction that you're going in your entire existence, right? So this is important, guys, because this is what happens to you after you die? Now, you don't have to believe that. I'm not here to campaign to make, as you can see, I'm doing this very discreetly. This is not, I didn't even promote. I forgot to, put this where I was supposed to put it to let certain people know and stuff. I forgot to do that because this is not even about that. I'm going to let them know, but probably afterwards. But, cause I already forgot. So it's like, this is what am I, halfway through? Yeah, I'm like halfway through the whole thing. So, so I'll still try to do that in the background while I'm talking and stuff. I'll drop that link over where I was supposed to so let me do that while I'm talking. But yeah, we just see that this is a whole big spectrum and we got a piece of it. That's what we're seeing. So by all means, that's not the slice, that's not the whole pie. So here we go. So this letting you know some things right here. This is deeper than you think. All right, guys, this is what I'm trying to help you understand, right, guys? This is deeper than you think, right? When you look at this right here and you look at this technology, guess what, guys? This is not just about little technology that can tap into this wavelength. That's not what it's about. It's about whole realities, right? It's deeper than that. It's whole parts of your existence, quite literally. Parts of your existence, right? Why do you think you're not affected by, this kind of stuff immediately, at least? I mean, you are affected, but this stuff is already around you. This is what's already happening. You're already a part of this. This is you. Let's be frank about it. This is you. This wavelength, because you're an emanation of the light-based reality. So, just showing you how all these things are seen, well, the way that they are seen ties into how they manifest into reality. Because guess what, guys? If you can't see it, that's why they said seeing is believing, right? You can be blind, but guess what? You got to have your other senses, and your other senses are ways of seeing. Not to say like actual sight, but seeing is experiencing. That's why you see the Illuminati, with their little pyramid and the eye and all that. They're letting you know it's not, it's not just to say, oh, it's just about our sight, seeing everything. No, they want to control everything, but they just use the eye because it's reality. It's representing reality because they know that it's a light-based reality. So that's why, you're illuminated when you go through this crown chakra, and this kind of thing. That's why you see different parts of yourself, like the different energy bodies, astral body, and this kind of stuff, because that's light. That's different frequencies of light. That's why we can do the things that we do. Well, wow. You'll be like, well, okay, I'm not convinced. Okay, well, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Again, I'm not trying to convince anybody anyway, but let's keep going. But what I want to do is jump back to that video real quick. Let me jump back to, I think I have to put it on here again. Oh, did I delete it? Let me see. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna jump back to this video right here. Oh, wait, what? There we go. So we jump back to this video. This guy, I chose this video for this presentation because every video I chose, I just wanted to keep it simple and keep it straight to the point and try to keep it educational and in a way that can be digested, because what this all is a picture. It's building a big picture, which this whole series is building. And this is all through inspiration and imagination, and I'm going to get more into that in just a minute. So let's get into, I believe this is the last video, and then I'm just going to be, going into some other concepts here, but all related to vibration. So let's look at it. So what we're going to do real quick before, because I really don't want to interrupt this guy. He does such a great job. What we're going to get into, I just want to real quick just kind of preface is we're going to be examining wave particle duality a little bit closer, and then I'll chime in at the end, and we'll express, I will express to us, which is you, which is me, the conclusions that I've reached with this kind of idea. So this actually is the best breakdown of wave particle duality I've seen. And so I hope you enjoy it as well.
Hi, it's Mr. Anderson, and this is AP Physics Essentials, video 126. It's on the wave-particle duality of light. There's an old story of 4 blind men and an elephant, and they're each touching it at different points. And so this guy says it's pointy, this one says it's strong and sturdy like a tree, this one says it's flat like a wall, and this one says it's a snake. Now they're all right. They're all just touching different parts of the elephant, and light is like that. Depending on our scale, it can be both a wave and a particle. And so light travels as photons, and those photons can act as waves and particles. Evidence that showed us they're waves is their interference. They can interfere with one another, sometimes build up the waves, sometimes build them down. And they also, if we look at them as a particle, the photoelectric effect tells us that photons are quantized. They travel in these discrete units like particles. And so if you're a physics student or a physicist, how do you know which model to use? Well, it really depends on a sense of scale. And so we would use a wave model if the size of the objects that we're measuring are comparable to the wavelength of the light, and we would use the particle model if the energy that we're studying is comparable to the energy of a photon. Remember, which is described as Planck's constant times the frequency of the photon itself. Let me give you a little bit of history. The first person to tackle this issue was Isaac Newton, and he thought that it traveled in these small microscopic corpuscles, or these small
Not the first
particles.
person, guys, but you
And then
know
finally
what he
Thomas
means.
Young looked at that evidence, gathered more evidence, and said that they're waves. And so scientists looked at this for hundreds of years. And so if we kind of look at all of the evidence and kind of go through those two particle and wave model, we could first start with reflection. Do they bounce off objects? And we would say yes and yes. If we look at refraction, can they bend as they move from one medium to another? We would say yes and yes. If we look at interference, can they interfere with one another? The particle model doesn't hold up. They can't interfere with one another, but the wave does. Do they diffract? Do they bend around objects, or as you go through an opening? We'd say particle no. We would say wave yes. What about, can they be polarized? In other words, when they're traveling in one dimension, can we use small slits to just limit the amount who go through? Say no, and we'd say yes for waves. So waves are looking great. And finally, the photoelectric effect came around, and Einstein came around. And what it showed is that the wave model doesn't work. Only the particle model works. And so now we've got a duality, this view of light as both a wave and a particle. And so what's the answer? Well, both are right. And so how do we know which model to use? Again, it's a sense of scale. And so if we're looking at objects that are comparable to the wavelength of the light, then we use the wave model. But if we're looking at experiments where the energy is comparable to the energy of a photon, it's going to be a really small amount of energy, then we have to treat them as a particle. And so did you learn to select a model that's going to be appropriate for measuring photons? It all comes down to the size of the wavelength, the size of the energy, and I hope that was helpful.
All right, moving on. Beautiful, beautiful presentation. Really broke it down quite simply to you. We can always go back and rewind or whatever. The reason I included these different presentations in is to tie it all together, right? Everything I'm saying with the information that I'm displaying, it all ties in together. So this is giving you the overall concept of this thing called vibration, which, you know, is very, very important to understand, all right? Super important. It's not something to kind of brush off, you know, like, oh yeah, you know, vibration is whatever, right? It's ones and zeros. I don't need to care about it. You do need to care, because actually it's just like, you know, you need to know which direction you're going. Like if you're driving, again, with the driving analogy, like earlier, you know, you need to know where you're driving. You know, you need to know where you're moving. You need to know the direction you're going, because, you know, are you on a crash course? Because, hey, you know, if you don't know your course and you don't know where you're going, you could be on a crash course, right? Couldn't you? I mean, just by definition of not knowing, you can't say no, because you don't know, right? So if you don't know, you know, then you don't know what it would be. It could be either or. It could be a crash course. You know, it could be a pleasant course. You know, it could be a nice course or whatever, a productive course. It just depends, which direction you're going. So it's all about the perception. All about the perception. So when you put the attention on it, as he was trying to show you, is that really mostly, actually I should have kept that up, but it's okay. He basically was showing you the checklist. You saw where the checklist had all green and stuff. It was all green for the wave. It was green because mostly light is a wave. Oh, I meant to send. Oh man, I keep forgetting to send this link, man. Oh, just give me 1 sec. Just let me operate a little bit slower here. I know I'm just kind of on a medium pace, on the slow side. Shout out to the turtle, sacred turtle. Slow and steady wins the race. Let me just take my time here. I'm gonna make sure some people see this real quick. Sorry. Yeah, let's do that. Do. So yeah, it's important to know the direction you're going, guys. I mean, geez, do you want to be on a crash course? Do you want to experience suffering? That's really what it's about. Like, what level of suffering do you really want to experience? People claim they want a better world. I mean, guys, this is what we're talking about. I mean, people claim a lot of things, but do they really want it? That's the question, because that's what it boils down to when we're thinking about the direction we're going. The direction we're going determines that idea of a better world. Now, a better world, of course, is a subjective idea. Some people think a more chaotic world is better. Like, they think like being in a better, world would be like being in like a new world order, or, somewhere where things are restricted, and this kind of thing. Things are controlled. Remember, the idea of control, that's the material thing. That's the lower thinking, lower vibrational, right? Now we can say vibrational because we've introduced vibration, and you hopefully we should have a grasp, at least a little bit of a grasp of vibration and the central theme it plays in all of existence. We're literally in a soup of vibration. We're literally in a vibrational soup right now. And so, like I said, I'm not doing this for the anything. I'm doing this for free. That's what I'm doing this for, guys. I'm doing it for free. We're doing it for free. Yeah, doing it for free. So this is just something that we must be in tune with. Again, going back to vibration. Why do they say, oh, you're in tune with your higher self? Man, that's powerful. When you're in tune with your higher self, guys, that is super powerful. That's what you want. Because what is your higher self? That's what you start asking, right? You start like, oh, well, what vibration is that where it's in tune with my higher self? That's the one right there, guys. I promise you. Because in that one, that one is where, you're in tune with the greater thing, like the bigger picture, like the greater torus field, which is the earth torus field. So you're in tune with your higher self. These guys, they become aware, and then, they turn it into self-worship in the major way. And that's how it goes. And so you go into a lower dimension. So, hey, the little computer world that people are going into, perhaps, it's another Black Mirror episode. Shout out to Black Mirror. Black Mirror is fascinating. Great. There's an episode where people could like go in, I guess upload their consciousness or something like that. Which, I think is a little more involved to your existence than just your consciousness, than just the perception of consciousness, at least. So meaning like if you just upload your consciousness like as ones and zeros, like everything you thought and all this, it'll just be a replica of you. It won't be you. It's not going to actually be you. The only way to actually put these humans, into this lower dimension is for them to be in this dimension first, right? So they got to be in this dimension. So the only way a shadow can be cast, right? Because remember, when we're going downward on the torus field, that's where we're going towards the shadow of it. And the shadow is true, though. The shadow is true. The shadow is true, too. So the shadow is basically, you know, it's the slower. If you can follow what I'm trying to show you, it's like the shadow. Imagine, like I always use this example. I've used it throughout this entire series, right? The object and the shadow. Imagine, right? The shadow is what? It's less dimensions. Think about what I'm saying, right? I'm trying to show you this picture because I know like people are like, well, but I get what you're saying. You're saying it's less dimensions. I get that. But do you really get that? Because what I'm actually saying is less dimensions, meaning reality wise. So like meaning the direction of the Lord Taurus is to go enter to less dimensions. Like the shadow is perceived as less dimensions of the actual 3D object. Now there are aspects like of the 3D object that are perceived as more dimensions, right? Like you perceive the 3D object like when you look at it a certain way or something like that, or it's ways that you could see. Like if you look at your body and you could see like your auric field, that's more dimensions to you. There's more dimensions to the object. When we look at items in infrared, right? The simple stuff, man. Night vision, right? We use night vision. How about we use night vision? We use night vision and we can see things in the dark. And guess what? We see animal eyes glowing and things like that. Why? Because it has that dimension. It has that dimension. And so, hold on one sec. Misha, I see you calling. Hold on. Oops, so 1 second here. Sorry. You trying to join? Hold on, let me see. Am I doing this right? Yo.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey. I was maneuvering through the app. I'm not sure if I was connecting correctly or not.
Oh yeah, I think I seen you were in the other part. You were close though.
All right.
Yeah. But
okay, I'm gonna go.
Okay. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and open the app, and I'm gonna play with it a little more because usually I get there. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna play with a little bit more, and I'll try to join.
All right.
All right.
All right. So I know that was on the stream, family. We just keeping it real out here. That's a beautiful soul right there. So I definitely want to make sure, we touch bases on that because I seen she was trying to click on the room. I didn't see how to get her there though. Let's see. But yeah, if you just she'll figure it out. She'll get it. I'm pretty sure she will. What was I saying? Yeah, so just building on that, but let me just keep it moving a little bit because I know I just hang on to these certain topics. I don't want to just go all night on one part of this. I want you to really get the full grasp of vibration because it's like, this is of the utmost importance. Oh, sorry, I wasn't even in here. Sorry about that. I had to come back in here, but yeah, because I'm on the stream separately. But yeah, I was saying that vibration and how important it is. But welcome to the build. Misha, if you had anything to say or any interjections, just feel free to just interject at any time. I don't want to just ramble on, but I'm just kind of building right now on the importance of vibration. What we've been talking about is how vibration, creates, geometric patterns. We saw that with cymatics. We demonstrated that, with the Masaru Emoto water experiments and the rice experiments. We demonstrate how light is a wave and that is a vibration because it's oscillating in a two-dimensional type of direction. But even more with light, it's more dimensions, but it creates this reality that we're in. And so we examined sound a bit and just saw how sound is created. And we see that that's also a form of vibration. So just trying to, show the multi-layered existence of vibration, kind of like water within water. And I am going to pull that video up too. But yeah, vibration is of the utmost importance, because what vibration is showing, I mean, amongst other things, right? Because we see that, you know, when it's like, again, I started the stream talking about the law of attraction and kind of the misunderstandings of that so-called, you know, law of attraction, which really is the law of a vibration. It's not really the law of attraction as much as the law of vibration, because it is the law of attraction, because you're saying, well, hey, you know, you're pulling these things, but what it does is when people view it the wrong way, they're moving downward on a torus field again, because what they're doing is they start trying to control the situation. Remember, you know, just to put this simply, and again, I don't want to offend anybody, because I'm not, you know, talking to any certain religions only or anything like that. But when you're going upward, you got to think about it. The greater power, or some may say God, is in control, right? You think about like when you're going upward, you know, and you're rising up in your mind, and you're like becoming this person who, you know, will pass the test of your religion, whatever it may be, and achieve that heavenly afterlife that most of them, you know, promise. God is in control in that situation. When you're moving upward, you relinquish kind of the control to God, not in a complete sense. Obviously, your individual life, of course, you have to, you know, do the things that you do, but you realize what you do is a part of a bigger picture that's related to that greater energy. And so when we do that in the opposite direction, we go downward on the torus field, or we vibrate lower, because remember, all motion is vibration. So if we're moving in a motion, that means we're vibrating that way. So then if we're moving in the motion downward, we're vibrating downward. All right. So I think that's more accurate than saying vibrating lower, because even though technically vibrating lower, it can be true. It's not absolutely true. So vibrating downward is kind of a more true way, but it's still nothing's absolutely true in a sense. You know, you can always try to find something that you can pull out of it. It's all half true, right? From the perspective that you view it from, you know. So, you know, when we're going in that downward motion, that's where, you know, we're experiencing us in control. I'm in control. The person, me, we, it's just the one person, not even we, it's like really the one person. That's why the whole downward spiraling New World Order situation is all about control, because they want to be in control. Like if they represent a small group, which represented by probably one single entity at the end of the day, because that's what it's all about. They want that control, but it's like making one piece of something the full control. So that's the opposite direction of what we're doing. And so as you can see, that in itself, you know, you're going to, you know, people will be like, oh, well, that's evil. You know, it is what evil is. That's what it is, yo. Like and listen, I'm not saying that's bad though. That's what I'm saying. Because look, nothing is bad or good. Everything is bad and good. So look, what I'm saying is it's an opinion, right? It's whatever you vibe with. So look, if you're going downward and then somebody's like trying to get you to go upward or something like that, or circumstances are going upward against your downward trajectory, that's bad for you, because you want what's good is which way you're going. So if you say, hey, I'm going downward, I'm going more into individuality, more into materialism, more into physicality, then going that way is good for you, because that's the direction that you're going. But to someone that's going the other direction, that's going so-called upward, you know, in that kind of trajectory where it's expanding into this idea of like a higher positive motion, you know, because again, remember, the lower is the same thing. It expands too. So like the lower torus, it expands too. So like they have that higher connection of feeling like everything is one too. That's still there. Like them achieving oneness is still in their script, so to speak. Like oneness is on both sides, guys. That's what I'm trying to show you. It's like that's the whole 1 and 0 thing again. It's like it's all becoming one, but which one is it becoming? Is it becoming the positive one? Is it becoming the negative one? That's what we're dealing with vibration, harmony. You know, we see the dance of harmony. We talked about electromagnetism. We built on that real heavy, you know, and that was about the dance. That was about And the reason that it was more feminine energy and I wanted to be more feminine energy involved in that is because that's the part of the dance we're at right now. Is the dance of bringing that feminine forward, bringing it back, because it was pushed away, you know? Like it was pushed, so now it's pull. Now we're pulling it back. You know, we're getting that back. We're now the motion is coming back. It's the ebb and flow still the ebb and flow. But that ebb and flow was the direction that it moved the pendulum this way. Now the pendulum is back and it's swinging back that way. And it's going back that way.
Bless you, Mama. Right. So what is the force that dictates sort of where the pendulum spins, when it's spinning, when, you just mentioned that we're coming back into this more feminine sort of energy. You said a couple of things, sort of, you talked about the force. Mm-hmm. And I guess the question that's coming up for me is like, what is moving that force energy? I mean, moving that force forward, is the answer just energy? But then how do you break that down? Right? Like, how does energy know when to move forward or backward? When does it know to be positive or negative?
Right. Excellent question. My pleasure to answer that question. Thank you for that. Energy is movement, which is vibration. And the way that vibration knows, where to move forward or backwards is, what awareness it has. So everything is based on awareness. So the whole entire reality in heaven and everything is dealing with consciousness. So that's why they say the mind is all, right? Because the mind is consciousness. We have the physical experience of our mind being a result of a brain activity through some eyes. That's a material physical experience, right? But guess what? On a higher realm or dimension or whatever, on a higher frequency realm, you still have a body and it's set up a certain way. It's not set up the same way though. It's a different setup and it's still a body though. So it's showing you that, that's just the part that's responsible for the manifestation, the material manifestation in that realm. So I say that to say, the mind is all. So what determines the force? The mind determines the force. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means your consciousness. What does that mean? Well, that means your actual attention or your focus. So remember when I said what, and first of all, what an excellent question. Remember what I said about when you become the one, you realize you're the one, now you become the zero again. Because it's all, now you're everything, and then you're nothing again. By definition, everything is nothing. Because there's nothing to separate it. So it's that conglomeration of the one determined by what? Our awareness. It's determined by our consciousness. So what an excellent question. How do we determine our vibration? How do we determine in this realm, the way in all realms, by the way, but in this realm especially, I just want us to focus on the way we determine this is through our awareness, through our consciousness. So what are we focusing on? What are we putting our awareness on? What is the spiral of our reality revolving around? This is what I mean. So so the process, this is what it looks like, right? The process of us, which is the energy of us. Remember, movement is energy. Vibration is movement, which is energy, which is the dance again, the same dance, the electromagnetic, right? And so the process of us becoming one, what it looks like is everybody starting to see each other as each other in a positive way. See, we talking about the upward motion. So in a positive way, we can, of course, look at the news and see, what it's looking like on the other side. They got the news under control because remember, they're the ones who control. So they're all about control. So they're going to have the news. They got the news media under lock. They got all this different stuff that you can control because that's what they're about. It's all about control going that direction. So it's more and more control, more ego, more consciousness, which I'm not saying that's a bad thing. For some people, that's what they want or that's what they think they want. And so it is their ability to have that experience. And so by all means, like that's the empathy for the lower self again that we started the whole thing with, And so, that's how it cycles around. So it's all about our awareness and our consciousness,
Right. That's that.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, that makes so much sense. Like, I mean, what's his name? What's his name? The millionaire boxer, um, black guy. What's his name?
Floyd Mayweather.
Floyd Mayweather, right? I know I've heard bits and pieces of his stories and ways in which, his disparity, right? His adversity, him not being able to read. And now, like he, from what I see, like, he touches a lot of money. Not that money equals happiness, but you know what I mean? Like sort of the way in which he energy, I guess, transforms and I don't know, like energy is everything. And so the question I asked, yeah, I don't know. My mind is sort of cycling through that, but yeah, just the basic idea that popped up for me, which is again practical, which we all know, sort of the ways in which adversity supports. It can, not always, but if we channel that energy, which gives us an idea that it can be manipulated, sort of energy can be manipulated. Yeah.
Right. It's in motion, definitely. And you're right. Energy is everything. So that's the whole thing. It's like everything is everything. So the nothing is everything and everything is nothing, And so basically what that means is like, the space is all, everything is in the space. And guess what? The time, everything is subject to the time because everything is subject to the movement within the space. So it's all one working system that's kind of tied together. It's just different sides of the same, reality, basically.
Right. But then is it possible to connect the low vibration of, I don't know if we could say most of the world, or, at least the world that has the most influence? I hate when my thought leaves me because I'm trying to pay attention to so many things. Give me a second. It was a good.
To connect the energy, the lower, connect the lower to the higher, or like connect the lower to the.
Yeah, I don't know if you could sort of what we were just kind of summarize what we were leading to.
Yeah, that energy is. I was just reiterating like how you said energy is everything, and the energy is motion and vibration. So, it's the body. So it's basically space and time. So time is like the energy portion of the equation. Remember, it's electromagnetism. So that's energy. That's the whole energy right there. Everything is electromagnetism. That's why they call it the electromagnetic spectrum for all light, even beyond our visible light. Is all the light. And so, energy, is the combination of what we perceive as the two forces, but really it's just one force kind of in the motion.
Yeah.
That motion is the dance between the forces.
Yeah. Yeah, it was that. And I think that it's so profound that we can sort of come to the same conclusion in so many different languages, whether we're talking about binary code, whether, it was a different thought I had, but it's sort of that same energy is what's coming up for me, but you're building and I'm gonna fall back and keep, appreciating the build.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you for being here though. Chime in anytime you feel. Just jump right in. You can cut me off. I'm not, not a big deal. Because what's gonna get covered, we're gonna cover it anyway. So either way, whether it's something you said it, because perhaps it'll be something you say that was the missing part to complete the puzzle. And so, I was just saying like, the direction is so important. I look at vibration as direction, right? In so many ways we can see that vibration is direction and that it is, something that's obviously moving, traveling. We look at, this, we were looking at these frequencies yesterday. I thought this was fantastic. These are the actual like sound healing frequencies that people are using, You get into this stuff, man. It's very pleasant. I've gotten into a little bit of this. I personally, because man, some things get overwhelming for me. Like I'm extremely sensitive with certain like energies, and so like when I get certain frequencies and stuff, man, it's so overwhelming. Not in a bad way. Like it's so like you ever
Right.
had too much joy,
I understand.
you know?
I understand.
Like it could be so much joy. Like oh my goodness, it's too much joy for me. I'm just too much. It's
I
like
still need a second. Like,
you know.
yeah. No, that's amazing. I'm looking forward to having,
Absolutely. And so this just demonstrates more about frequencies and vibration, because frequency is vibration. It's the wave frequency. It's how the wave is like bending, you know, it's how it's, you know, rippling, the ripple effect. That ripple effect, that exact pattern, that's the frequency of that wave. And so we're in a soup of these different frequencies of waves, and, you know, solid objects have a different level of frequency, but they're still the same. Like they're still waves, like light-based wave type of existences. And that is it's the heavier part of it. It's the denser material, like crystallization part of it. It crystallizes, it embodies, it creates a body, you know, and so it's the negative force. And that's why I said, you know, these guys with the, you know, their version of the negative force where, you know, they're going down, you know, because again, remember now, we already established in other bills that the negative and the lie is a part of the truth. So we already established that it's one thing, like you can't really separate it because it's tied to it as an opposite or an inverse, or it's based in the truth in some way. But what we see is it's a lesser dimension. It travels inward. So it's like, okay, so the lie, you know, is talking about, you know, yourself. It's like all about your ego. So you go out here in the world, and it's a lot of people out here, and then we go pursue like just our own self. We like, I don't give as long as I'm doing what I'm doing, that's all that matters. You know, that's the self. That's the ego, human self. So when we do that, that's not wrong. People will be like, oh, that's wrong. You know, that's wrong. No, actually, it's a lesser understanding of a greater understanding, but it's not wrong though. It's just a more individualized, lesser understanding. It's more local to just you. So you're still the one. You're still reflecting the greater one, whether you know, realize it or not, you know?
right. But it's this way in which adversity will always exist because we are all operating on different frequencies. And so adversity will always be for everyone for that exact reason, right? Because we all can be on the path to something greater, right? But because duality, because these things can exist at the same time, we will all, each and every one of us, experience adversity because we come into connection, or we meet other frequencies in which we have to maneuver. Right. And so that's where it becomes really challenging for people to understand the idea. And because I think we're human, it's easy for us to fall into this sort of woe is me, like, not that everyone does it, but, you know, sort of feeling like it's super individualized.
Right, exactly. And it becomes about woe is me. It becomes about the self in various different ways. Sometimes it's good stuff about the self, but it's still just the self, and it's not really taken into account the rest of it going on. So it's equivalent to like a one cell of your blood, one blood cell just only caring about itself and not being involved in the hive mind of the blood cells, you know, making that greater liquid. So that's what we're dealing with here, is like we're always making something greater until it's nothing again, and then we're always making something greater. That's what the Taurus field is. It's just that cycle, continuous cycle. So what we do is there's larger cycles within cycles. That's how it is. It's like cycles within cycles within cycles within cycles. So we see we have our own little personal cycles within the greater big earth cycle, and then the earth has a cycle within the greater universal cycle. All that's true whether we subscribe to a certain cosmology or anything. No matter what, that's actually still relevant. Like that still applies. Like we can see, you know, we're a measurement of the same thing that we're within. It's like that Russian doll thing where they have the doll within the doll within the doll within the doll. Mm-hmm.
Right. So let me ask you a question, and hopefully this aligns somewhat.
But real quick, I'm sorry. When you said shadow, just to last little thing I wanted to say, I'm glad you said that. It made me think just now. The shadow is the lesser dimension to the current dimension, but guess what? It's only lesser to that dimension. So when you're in the shadow and you're in that dimension, now it's the whole thing. Now it's the real deal to you. Like it's the shadow is the real deal because you're in it. It's only less. It's only lesser, and it's only a shadow to that higher dimension that it's casted from.
Right. So almost you can believe this or you can believe that. Does that make sense? Like I can make a decision to believe this about myself, my future, and then it becomes that. And that can be the lower self, the shadow. Or I can make a decision, I don't know. Right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense at all?
Yeah,
But I had a question. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. You have a question? You know, go ahead. Go ahead with the question.
So hopefully it aligns with what we're talking about, but nevertheless, so the question is free will an illusion? And if it's not, then who's making the decisions for us?
That's a great question. What a lovely question. Wow. Leave it to Misha. Beautiful question, Misha. Thank you. Man, you just dropping just all kinds of light bombs. Like it's just straight darkness, like in a sense, not in a bad way. I like to change things up and open people's minds. I mean, like where all light is included.
Oh, trust me, darkness relate. I can relate right now.
Yeah, so it's beautiful. Beautiful. So free will, right? Man, remember now, it's easy to answer every question because look, this is where you start at, right? All truths are but half true. So remember that things can be true on one level and false on a different level. So free will is an example, a great example of that. So what it is just like the material body. It's like, remember control, like think about control. Remember I said control is that lower pursuit. You're trying to control something, right? It's like when people, not to like put it, I ain't want to, it just made me think right now. I think you can remember from yesterday when we talked about sexuality and, people choosing in their sexuality and things like that and feeling like, this is what it is. They're controlling that, it's a control thing where it's like, okay, I'm in control, I determine what this is, and such and such. And so, it's that same kind of mentality of self. It's going back into the ego self. So it's that downward spiral, that so-called low vibration. Because remember, vibration is movement. So spiral downward is a movement downward, which is a vibration downward. And so we're vibrating downward when we indulge more into materialism and self. When we open up to the greater picture of reality and the bigger picture, that's when we're going upwards. And so when you want to control, when it needs to be in control, like free will is control. So free will is like, I'm controlling everything. Like I control this. Like I got free will. I can go do what I want, right? That's the human paradigm. Okay. That's the human paradigm. Like what now remember what I told you, like when you cast in a shadow, when the 3D object casts a shadow, it blocks out the light. Does that shadow control what it does? No, it doesn't. It's based on the 3D object moving. So that's what I try to show people is like, if you want to understand, this reality more, you go to the reality that this reality is within. Okay. So we go into the reality, the greater reality. Then we understand this reality more because it's the shadow of the greater reality. See, it's kind of works like that. When I say shadow, that's a rough example. It's not literally a shadow. I want people to know that. Like, it's just a rough example, but it definitely kind of drives the point that, it's a lesser dimensional version of a thing. Because the shadow is still that thing, a projection of that thing, at least a cutout of that thing. It's bearing some dimensions of that actual object.
Right. Could that be almost like sort of how a sperm cell exists?
Right. Yeah, that's profound. Yeah. That's profound. Wow. That's a lot to think about. Like, wow. That makes me think a lot because I'm like, coming from a lower, inner dimension.
But it's very much aware, right? Because it takes a lot for a sperm cell to become. So.
That's interesting.
right? In some ways, it's conscious. Would you agree on that or no?
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's trying to do a specific thing when it gets down to it, When it gets down to it, it has an aim. It has what it's trying to do.
Right. And we see millions of people who, ways in which it accomplishes that aim because it's conscious.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful. Absolutely. Very powerful. Makes you think.
Yeah. It makes you think. One other thought I had from yesterday, and this is, we don't have to go too deep if it doesn't align, but just something simple. We talked about harmony. Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, somebody called me. We talked about harmony and balance last time. And so I had this thought yesterday that, and you guys might have addressed this, I don't know, but harmony is balance in action, sort of motion, right? What do you think about that?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. It
Okay.
is. It is actually. Yep. It's happening. It's like harmony is happening. It's a happening thing. Like that's something that's happening. So yeah, absolutely. It's like it's happening in time. It's like harmony is something you experience. You experience that harmony. It's a balance in action. Like it's emotion. It's the continuous balance. That's harmony. It's like continuous balance.
Yeah. I'm so grateful for this space. You don't even know. Like, yeah. And hopefully, others can find some meaning and, something from it as well. But again, I'm going to fall back and let you build, and I'll jump in.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I reflect the same. I reflect the same gratitude. I'm thankful for you, and your wisdom and your perspective, profound perspective. And I'm thankful for everybody that built with us and the people that's even out here, man, that's just out here, kind of don't know the direction they're going. Guys, there's, unfortunately, because of the nature of the way that the higher frequency functions, which everybody has access to, you're all already on a higher frequency. Because of that nature, it's not going to be the same way. You're not going to, it's not going to be exactly the same. It's going to be it can be the same, but it can be like a different perception, a different flipped like perception of it. So it's like, it's kind of like, if you grew up, watching TV, that's kind of encouraging you to constantly go, on a lower path that's going to lead to more division, which again, I'm not calling bad. I'm just saying it is what it is. It goes into more division. It goes into more separation. We see what comes with that. All right. We see what comes with that. Like when we look at this reality, it's plain and simple. We look at, divisiveness. We look at it at any group and any element. We see the divisiveness. We see what happens. Things get hurt. Things die. Things get killed. All kinds of like violent actions and different stuff happens. And that's just normal. That's a part of that direction. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So when they talk about the animal nature, dude, it's fun. Listen, when you get on your testosterone, like, listen, I can tell you, like, I get, you get pumping and I'm running or I'm working out and I'm pumped up with testosterone, man. You feel like you almost feel beastly. Like you feel beastly.
Oh yeah. I can ditto that from a feminine perspective in terms of how, when you're at your best, it draws attraction,
Mm-hmm.
And you, you can, that can be someone who gets a, sort of inflated self, like ego.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you, just exactly what you said on the opposite, spectrum. So I have some other stuff, but I'm gonna come.
Okay. But yeah, you're right. And, the person gets that inflated ego, and that is a sign that we're moving on the downward spiral. So our vibration is low at that point, or downward, so to speak. It goes inner, but, the inner that's another thing I want to add to this, because just not to misconstrue, when the inner dimension, it's also upward. So it's a very strange kind of, so you can go inner upward and inner downward. And the inner downward, that's the downward spiral that, exists with more separation, zooming in more on that. It's going to create that one, and it's going to turn into that zero, but it's going to be going down, spiraling downwards. And it's just the opposite, and neither one is right. They all connected, and the downward is just the destructive path. That's why we have birth and death.
Right, you had said something earlier, I think, that had triggered it, and I can't remember, but it really is just exactly what you're saying, and exactly what we've been saying, and hopefully we've been speaking in ways that so many different people can latch on to some aspect of it in ways that can help them. Because for me, it has. So, but it's this, like the same paradox, the same duality, this, like for me, I mean, there's so many ways that shows up in my life, in real life. Like, I mean, my goodness, I can make it plain in terms of where I've come from, and being able to use where I've come from to be on platforms across the country. You know what I mean? Like, just right, like this, but even in that same breath, those same things have effects that show up for me maybe in a negative way, but you know what I mean? Like, but those are the things that drive me towards the positive. Like, it's just constantly, you know what? It's negative and positive in motion, in dancing, and in rhythm with each other.
That's right.
Yeah.
It definitely is. And it's what your perception of your direction is. That's what determines our experience, our collective experience, the reality we find ourselves in. On an ultimate level, like, once you leave here type of thing, even past that, like it's and so that's what the whole value of it is. It's not bad or good. It's just, you got to be prepared for what comes with the direction you go. So if you go the downward direction, this downward spiral kind of thing, you just got to understand what comes with that. And it's not a bad thing. It's the same thing that some of us, rise from, like you mentioned, Misha, just now. Like you rise past certain things. Like you may have been in that because you're moving away from that. So you were there, but you moved past it. Now you move towards something else, something better, something, good in your own perception. So that's what we do. We keep going up the chakras, right? We keep going up. We keep circling around and coming back and going back up. That's the fire that our soul is forged in, of improvement, positive activity, improvement. Going downward is just like, it's just about degenerating, and it's not bad. It's just a different experience. It's the inverse experience. It's just the inverse experience. So we're going towards, where some of us, like I said, we came from type of thing. They're going towards that, And so it's people that have a disposition in the world, and it kind of reflects that, where, consciously, because of a certain type of experience of the world that they, may have been born into, or they may have, it kind of makes them delusional to where their consciousness just falls. Like it goes the opposite way. It goes down,
Say more about consciousness falling, because again, I think that, just to push back a little bit, I think that takes away from duality and the idea that they're both super important. So when you say consciousness falls, two things. One, speak to that a little bit more. And then the other thing is, I want to speak to folks who, because what you just said was true, right? And we said the truth is a lot. We've been talking about this in many different ways. Okay, honey, I'll give you the phone 1 second. Right. But, so to folks who may feel like they're in places that are in the negative, or right, because you just spoke to the yearning for our spirits to move upward. But for those who are experiencing the energy of being pulled downwards, to sort of presence that, and that is real and it happens. And again, I'm all about practicality because I just get it. I know, the feeling of being in those lower areas, and so to presence that in a way where if harnessed, right, or even acknowledged, it can be used again to this idea of a figure eight momentum, right? Like all of it is sort of pushing an energy to push you in a direction that's going to move you upward. And it doesn't always look like everyone else's path. But I guess my spirit is just wanting to present the idea of, because it's almost the opposite of what you just said, but it's the same thing. You just said we all want to move forward, and you spoke to that, beautifully. And I'm trying to speak to when you hit that dip on sort of the 8-figure, and that it's all sort of momentum, and even you at the lowest part of that dip is purpose.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a fact. So yeah, that's beautiful. Thanks for that segue. That's amazing. So that's a very key part. That yes, the it's not useless. Your feet are not useless. You feel me? Like the lower part of yourself is not useless at all. Like we walk with our feet, right? Like we walk with our legs and stuff, right? So
wow, that's deep.
We need that. That's a part of us. Like it's what keeps us, connected to the realm that we in. Because again, it's a bigger version of this is our world. So we're part of the bigger part. And so that keeps us in line and keeps us where we need to be. It's definitely purpose in the lower self and understanding that, yes, you always got the perception of motion. So, again, even in higher realms, it ain't, it's not always, sunshines and, and everything like that. I mean, it's just mostly like that. But, it's still, you still circle around and have that perception. So what's important to know is that if I can, let me see if I can get the chakras here real quick. Let me pull up the chakras real quick because that'll give it like a little visual with it. Pull them chakras up real quick. Hold on. I typed the wrong thing. There we go. Chakras. All right. So we pull the chakras up. So let me see a good one here. This one got like the little symbols in it, So anyway, with these chakras, right, you could think of these like the different microcosms of the realms of different realms, right? So different main realms, and then there's realms within realms. So it's, again, we see how like it's almost a troll, like how like reality just literally repeats into infinity. Like it repeats itself into infinity. It's a super troll. It's like you just look around and everywhere is a mirror. Like it's like just constantly repeating the same thing, and it's just telling you, screaming at you, like, here, this is what it is, And it's like we like following religion and following the other humans, and going into more materialism, into more concrete, like denser type of understanding. So that's all it is. It's like, imagine if you keep a torus field, like a figure eight, as you mentioned, the torus field stuck right here at just this part right here. You know what I'm saying? But this is part of a bigger torus field that has these other forces that's always still moving. But your little mini torus field is stuck right here, and the big torus field is going on the bigger chakras. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, while you stuck right here on the same torus field. So it's like, remember, there's a bigger torus field still going on top of your torus field, or beneath, or however you want to look at it.
For me, what comes up is like grace equals we were meant for that. In this realm, that was supposed, like, grace equals that. When people talk about having grace for themselves, right? Grace exists because we were meant for duality, the figure eight. The creator already knew there would be that lower self, and so grace became in existence.
Yeah, most people don't want to admit that the lower self is valid. That's a fact. The lower self is valid. It's not to say, this is not about the lower self not being valid. Like we said, when the initial build that inspired, which I'm going to get into, as far as like what is inspiration and imagination, the inner light within these inspiration to the process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something, especially to do something creative. You get inspired, and then, you know, you have the imagination, the act or power of forming a mental image. Because we know that power, they say knowledge is power, right? But they also say love is power. Interesting. So how does knowledge and love relate? Well, knowledge builds up towards love, because when you build the ultimate knowledge, you realize that love is the answer. That's a fact.
Right. And
Like,
so, you know, yeah, I'm gonna follow you, but I just want to wrap up this thought that's like, you know, for me as a young person, and again, we don't know who this might reach, and this is coming up for me, so I want to share it. You know, I've been in, you know, foster care system, all those things, right? Like, and so I've had this experience. And I want folks to know that, how can I say this? Sort of it offers a perspective to that, like, giving grace, love to your lower selves. But it's so, for example, when I was younger and my mentor first introduced me to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it was so profound to me because it gave me a glimpse into sort of, it aligned my experience into purpose. Like, oh, I'm operating in survival mode. Like, okay, right? It gave me that opportunity
okay,
to.
let me pull that up. Actually, matter of fact, let me pull that up while you're saying that.
Yeah. So, and that for me was such a turning point in my life, because a lot of the ways in which I existed was just in survival, and I knew nothing else. And survival can look like chaos. It can look like many different things. It can even look like just grace, because you made it through, whatever, through survival. But again, that Maslow's hierarchy of needs gave me a perspective that showed me that, oh, but this is how you climb the ladder. And so when I keep speaking to the ways in which we identify our lower self, and I talked about grace, and it hopefully can resonate with someone, that can, one, give them a perspective, and then show that there's still purpose in that experience, and then that it gives you a roadmap that says, oh, but this is the way in which my experience connects to my purpose, and that is still all motion and moving towards that higher self, because that's what you want. And I'm assuming, whomever I'm speaking to, that's what, yeah.
Facts. Yes. Beautiful. Absolutely. That's a beautiful point. Absolutely. That, yes, there's value in it, that we never, that's why I'm very careful to, not to make sure we're not saying, oh, this is bad, like that's bad, because that's super subjective. And it's like, yeah, if you want to feel like it's bad, you could feel like whatever you want to feel like, and whatever your experience, leads to you feeling like, right? But is it actually bad? No, because it's part of you. It's part of your experience.
Right, JP,
growth.
but let's push it further, and let's go to the outer skirts of those things that are bad, because then that gives folks boundaries and a pathway, because they do exist. There are things that exist, right? There are lower selves that are, and we touched on it, and I'm gonna just go there. Think about pedophilia, like that's bad.
Yeah, that's bad.
Right. So, like, how do we presence that in a way that connects to, but there are red flags. There are, it's like, woo, woo, hold on, you're stepping outside of, because again, I think in a practical sense, it could help.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, that's definitely a selfish downward spiral where a person is just only thinking of themselves. They're not considering that child, and it's just literally just about what they want and this and that. And, whatever happened to them, their trauma that caused them to even be warped in their mind in that way. It's that kind of situation where, they're on that pathway because it was set off. And again, guys, we got to realize now, when things travel a certain direction, that's the reality of it. It doesn't matter who likes it or not. So, like, if these guys do that, guess what? Guess what comes in that direction? Like death, slaughter, like all that kind of stuff is in that direction that they travel
right.
at. They travel.
They're creating a reality. Like, it's motion in action. It's chaos in action. It's choosing the lower self constantly. Like,
And
yeah.
yeah, and it leads to just crushing blows. Like that's the brutal stuff. Like that brutal stuff that we get into. Like I was saying, like you get jacked up when you work out and you get into your physical body and you get those hormones going, like the testosterone and all that. You be pumped up. That right there is material. That's the physical. Like that's the animal nature. Like that's the part of you. Like, you know, that's what they're going towards. So they're going into the jungle. You know, where animals bite your neck off. Like, you know, stuff can happen.
Yeah.
And that's the reality that they're creating more around themselves as they go spiral deep into that. It's more of a basic, like from our standpoint here in this reality, that's more of a primitive, yeah, like more of a primitive, you know, not even basic, but just primitive, like just savagery, you know. And that's why they want people calling themselves savages and shit. You know, they want you to do that because they need company, guys. They need these people that the same pedophiles and things that you're talking about, like these same type of people, man. These are the people that's trying to influence other people to do what they're doing. And they want it to be okay and they want it to be openly accepted and this and that. So they go to that extent and that length. You know, man, we did a case study.
Yeah. But again,
mm-hmm.
I don't know this energy I'm on, but I'm speaking to somebody. But I think that helps in creating the borders and the boundaries, because sometimes when your lower self has been present more than not, you know, it messes with your mental. And I think that we spoke to a couple of ways where you can you can differentiate yourself from that, right? Because I'm sorry, I got a lot of stairs in my house. I was just running up them, but yeah, like it's easy to. For me, I'm an empath. I heard you mention that when I listened back to a build, right? And so I'm super hard on myself, right? And I think what you spoke to was a boundary, because I'm gonna be harder on myself than anyone else. And so we offered up, ways in which you can differentiate, like you can offer grace to yourself, because the average person more often than not is trying to seek their higher self. It becomes chaotic, disruptive, all those things when you're constantly seeing your lower self and you've been comfortable with that. But the average person isn't that. And so we've offered ways in which we could speak to boundaries and why you should offer yourself some grace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What a beautiful point. That's super heavy right there. That's healing right there. What you're talking about, that's that healing frequency right there. You know, healing frequency where you got to forgive yourself, guys. This is true. That's a great point about vibration. It actually relates very deeply to vibration, because I feel like the forgiveness is the allowing that you made a mistake. Like say, like, you know, because I've been a part of freestyling and freestyle ciphers and things like that. You know, when you're freestyling, you just, you know, you're doing improv. You're coming off the top of the head, as they call it, right? So you're just making it up right now as you go. And so you, in order to continue a good flow of that and retain some kind of rhythm, you must be able to forgive yourself if you make a mistake. Because guess what? It's inevitable. You're going to make a mistake for sure.
Oh, that's deep.
So you have to be able to forgive it and keep it going. Because you overlook that you missaid a word or something like that. It doesn't matter. You just keeping the whole thought going. You keeping it going. And that's what makes a good freestyle. Like you just ignore that in the sense of you're just forgiving those mistakes, you know, and letting it kind of go through you instead of holding on to it. Because we become a filter when we hold on to things, when we block the thing from just passing through us. When we forgive, we let it go. It just goes. We don't hold on to it. We don't weigh ourselves down with these things. So get it, weigh yourself down, right? Material world, downward. So you weigh yourself down when you don't forgive, when you don't let go of stuff. You know, let it go, forgive yourself, and guess what? When you forgive yourself, things change. Maybe your direction changes now. Maybe when you let those bags go, like Misha said, you know, everybody's really, truly, let's be real, we want a positive outcome. We don't want to be New World slaves and all this like extra like suffering. We want a positive outcome. And so you want to rise up. You want to rise to the occasion. You want to do the right thing. You want to get up, you know, you go up, you know, and you want to have that positive growth. And as we see with Maslow's motivational model here, it's showing you the positive growth. And the top of it is transcendence, self-actualization, and then transcendence. You know, once you get your needs met, you get your needs met, you get to these points. So healing and forgiveness and all of this is important, because a lot of this is hate that we had towards ourselves. Guys, remember, the frequency of the planet has been so, bad and low because it's been so material and brutal, where people are all about their self. It's been all about self. We literally tax each other for everything. We literally like we have to create this boundary between ourselves, like these little bubbles of currency, that we need, whereas we don't know the real currency, guys, the real power, the actual currency. I'm working on a work about this currency, the real currency, not what we know as money. It's the real currency. It's all of this is related to that, This is all the same stuff. And so we use the real currency. That's when we're operating truly, right? We're operating of who we truly are. So when we slow down and we just think about things, it all makes sense. It's like nature tells us certain things. We say, well, nature has all this happening. Some people use this as like to justify their relationships and things that they do. They're like, oh yeah, the lions are polygamous. Lions, have this and that, their women go hunting and the guys just protect and do this. And then most of the time they don't do shit, and so guys, human people will use that as an excuse to like emulate the animal, when actually the animal emulates you. You know what I'm saying? Because the animal wants to be, you're setting the example.
Wow. That's deep.
So why would we want to be the animal, So that's what we got to realize, what direction we're going in. When we check ourselves thought by thought, it may seem like a process at first, but remember, put yourself in the place of the turtle, man. The turtle is sacred, man. It goes back to the ancestors. The turtle is very sacred, very holy, because the turtle is helping us realize a lot of things at one time. The shell helps us see, let me see. We'll bring up a turtle shell here. Excuse me. Turtle shell. Really the turtle itself, but I was talking about the shell, just the pattern. This is sacred geometry. This is geometric patterns. Like here it has hexagons. Down, up and down the shell. You see in perfect shapes created off this natural object. This is a being that's born out of nature, showing you the pattern, the stamp, the geometry of it. It's looking like a positive pattern. Look at the emanation, like it's echoing inside. This is a pattern, and this is like one of those wholesome patterns that you see with the Masaru Emoto experiments, where you had the positive light, or the positive words that made the thing good. Like the crystals, the water crystals were more geometrically shaped in order and had a little pattern to them and all that. So it's definitely not chaotic. It's definitely a pattern to this turtle shell. And so, that's what we are, and that's what we want to do. We want to see it that way, but we think that we want to go in a different way. So we hold on, we hold grudges, we hold anger, we hold hate, and our vibration does what? Sink and sink and sink and sink. And we just become a low vibrational entity. And then pretty soon, if we really, really stick to our low vibration guns, we really become a low vibrational entity born into a low vibrational realm after this.
Oh, that's so deep. And listen, guys, again, because I don't know. This is just what's coming to me, but grace, compassion, whatever. Like we live in a society in this realm, at least, right, that perpetuates that. We all know, right, all the different ways in which systems and society, they're I don't know, how could I say, they are perpetuating lower self. That's what I'll say. Me mute up my baby, but yeah, I think that's the point I wanted to get across. Like, it becomes increasingly difficult in the society we live in today to really seek what we're calling the higher self, then that makes you think about sort of the what is the intention then of the powers that be? I don't know.
Exactly. That's what you want to, the powers that be, these guys are the control masters. So now that we've gotten to the level, the way the pendulum swings, we talked about the pendulum swinging earlier. When it swings back, what happens is now we have the opportunity to, be gone with these control systems. These control systems come about when, the imbalance of the electromagnetic spectrum or the energy of our reality. So it's an imbalance. So we have too much of one side and not enough of the other type of situation. And so now, we have control issues, and we have people that's, trying to control everything to the finite decimal. They want to control every little thing. They need to do it because that's their whole goal. Like they're going downward and downward. They're trying to hold on to their place here. And what do those people fear? They fear death. They don't want the cycle to keep going. They want to just get stuck in the cycle. But they want to, at the same time, they want to keep their little control and stuff. But see, what happens is they fear death because they know they're spiraling themselves down to a lower entity, a lower, like realm of existence. They will become the lower entity within that lower realm. And what happens is, you want to know what a lower realm is like? You want to know how fun that is? Guess how fun it is? Well, it's nature. It's nature on steroids. It's like dog eat dog. You ever heard of that phrase, dog eat dog? Like the snake eating its tail. Well, guess what? The snake eating its tail is smaller now. That's what a lower realm is like. The snake eating its tail is smaller and more intense, and the lifespan's shorter. People repeat over and over, reincarnate quicker.
Like a dream, like a nightmare.
Like a nightmare,
Like,
exactly.
You ever had one of those, I had one of the night, which was bizarre, but one of those things where it just doesn't make sense. Things are off. It's creepy. It's yeah.
It's like that, but being like this and that. So like how we wake up to this every day and we're like, oh, we in this world. Yeah, it's heavy. It's like you're heavy in that world, and like, you die and then you come back. Like, again, the Taurus is at that certain point in that worldly chakra system, so to speak, energetic system.
So can I ask you, JP, so what, I don't know if who is the right way, but what might lead you to that experience of dying and experiencing the lower self, in which we were described as a nightmare?
Absolutely. Great question. What leads you to that is the pursuit of material self or materialism. So it's literally exactly like if you go, we talked about the bottom of the Taurus, like right here would be, let me see if I can, I should have had that shared here. The bottom of the Taurus is the land of the realm, but the realm is the whole thing. But the land of it, the material part of the realm, is the bottom. So when you're going down there and you want to be stuck on concepts that revolve around preserving the bottom, preserving the realm, you're sticking there. You're not in motion. So what happens is, you experience the suffer of because, you suffering because it's a friction against a constant motion. We're staying like we're going to one thing instead of like rising and continuing, or even dying. Because when you die, then now you have the opportunity to continue, but you're going to continue in the lower. It spirals down. It's like a part of a bigger system. So it's a larger system of Tauruses, and our little Taurus of ourself is a part of it. And what so makes you go there? No, go ahead.
So it might be like you're dropping down a chakra.
Right. You're dropping down to a lower version of the same chakras repeated lower, and there'll be a different dark, like other color. You know what I'm saying? There'll be a other color. And so, but it'll be relative to like this chakra up here. It'll be like repeating up here, but you're just like, you're down.
Well, the way that it's relevant is because you can interpret it.
Yeah.
Right? Because, right? Do you catch that? Like, the only way that is relevant is because you can interpret it. Because, for example, you can be a human, somewhere and things going around you, you just didn't even have the interpret, like you didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, so do you mean like by you not knowing that it would mean that?
So I guess like, okay, so imagine someone, I hate to be I don't want to use schizophrenia as a catch-all be-all, but just an example of someone who's completely outside of unaware.
Mm-hmm.
The more you get aware, like they're still at negative, I don't know, 10, but they're coming into awareness. But even to be aware that you're in a lower realm is like motion. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's a feeling type thing that leads to your consciousness type thing. You know, you're right. You're not going to be aware that it's a lower. It's just going to be the realm you're in. You know, you're not going to be like, oh, this is a lower realm. Like lower than what? Because your memory is going to get wiped when you're born into that realm.
Right.
So when you become a part of that realm, you know, you have to have a representation in that realm, which is your body, which is, you know, happens however it happens, however that in that realm it happens. And, you know, you come into that realm and then boom, you're that thing in that realm until you're not anymore. And so, you know, you still got a Taurus field, you know, still got a Taurus, you know, but,
That's no. What you just said though, I said simple, but when you said Taurus field, it added the complication to it again.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. Because what the complication is motion. So the Taurus field of you know what we're perceiving.
And who defines motion? Is that God?
Yeah, basically. You could say that. You could say God. I mean, if that's the term we want to use, like when we talk about the bigger picture, the bigger system or bigger eternal, like universal, there's like an eternal unification. And it's the same thing that we are. It's like literally we're the mirror image.
So does the Creator even capture for you? When we say God, is it equivalent for you?
Yeah, I say the Most High. That's what I prefer.
Most High.
I say the Most High. That's what I personally prefer. But that's just my preference. But I respect everybody's preference and everything.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, I do say the Creator too sometimes. So, you know, just that same idea. But yeah, I say the Most High mainly. But you know, I'm talking about like that part of ourself that's this greater part of ourself. We're that. We're all that. And it's just a matter, again, it all boils down to perspective. And so I like what you said when you was talking about, you know, the kind of like not being aware, because, you know, that, you know, awareness is a part of this. Like consciousness is a part of this whole thing with vibration. You know, it's a certain level of awareness. So, and I think kind of the direction we were going with that, when what you chimed in with, is like kind of like a subconscious awareness, like, you know, there are deeper awarenesses, you know, like you have your conscious awareness, and then, you know, you have your deeper awareness. Then you have like your subconscious super conscious awareness. That's like the awareness of the Akashic records, you know, like the field that unifies us, you know, the bigger field. That's the super consciousness. You know, the subconscious is like your own personal subconscious that's kind of bleeds out into the bigger field. It's like, it's loose. It's like, it's wild, you know, it's wild because it just creates realities, you know, at whim. But it also governs certain aspects of yourself in this reality. So like your heartbeat and all this stuff is subconscious awareness. It's the awareness that's not the current active awareness right now. It's like in the background. That's right. You know, is it?
She felt that too, yeah.
I know, right? That was beautiful. It's in the background, and so it's you know, it's still there though. It's still there. So, like I said, when I talked about those lower realms and stuff, it's not a bad thing. And motion is not bad. You know, motion is part of the whole thing. So, like when we talk about space and time, we say, oh, space and time is an illusion. I used to say that all the time. You know, space and time is an illusion. But actually, I used to say that all the time, because the way I looked at it is that it's temporal, and so it's not it's not something you can prove is there, which is true. You can't. But that doesn't mean it's not there for when it's there. So it's an illusion, but it's not really an illusion. That's half true. So it's half illusion. So it's not fully like an illusion. That's part of the dance.
I think I get it, because we will die one day.
Right.
There's some level of measurement happening.
Exactly. It's a cycle. It's cyclic. Everything's a cycle. The sun and the moon, they keep rotating in a cycle. The moon, you guys were building, governs the woman's cycle, or, relates. I ain't gonna say governs, but you could say just reflects or relates to the woman's cycle in some way.
Everything does. I mean, literally everything. I mean, the idea of a decomposing is that. Because everything will have a cycle.
Absolutely. Facts. And so, yep, it's cycles on cycles on cycles. And that's the torus. The torus is the cycle. That's the cycle. Like, it's a shape of a torus. It's like a spiral. It's spiraling sideways.
Can you pull that up? What's the shape of a torus?
This is the torus right here. The torus field around the human bodies.
Oh,
right
okay. Here. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm familiar.
Yeah,
okay.
The donut. Yeah.
The B.
That's right. So hold on, let me go back to the actual. Where is it? Right here. This is a more clear picture of it.
The cross, right?
Yeah, it can be seen as the cross. You can see it as the cross. You see, it's spinning horizontal, sideways, and vertical.
A tornado, ether.
Yeah, like a tornado reversed in the middle, like an inverse tornado, like a mirror image. See, it creates an hourglass shape, like an 8. It's like an hourglass in the middle because it expands out on both ends. So this gets you grounded more into that physical, and this gets you grounded more into that higher like thought. And your mind, your body reflects that. Your body shows that with the shape of your body. It reflects the torus and how it works. Like, your body's got the mind at the top with the eyes and all that, and this and that, and beginning of the digestive tract, which is the mouth, and then you have the heart here in the middle-ish section of the torso, and it's beating a big torus out. The heart does. They measured this, and the brain does too, though. The brain has a torus too.
Right. Which, when I was younger, I remember being introduced to the hemispheric dominance. And I remember that resonating so much with me. I think I was like in 9th grade. It just resonated so much, and it's so interesting how it builds on that. And so for those of you out there who, I don't know if you subscribe to Power, if you watch that, but it's really interesting if you do. Their intro, right? There's duality all in the intro. And then if you watch this, I think the first episode happened tonight, and they asked them the same profound questions, which is why I even had those. Yeah, the new season, which is why I had those questions for you queued up, because I was watching it last night. Went over to a little event, and I was listening to them, and and so if anybody watches that, it'll be a trip when you check it out.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna definitely check that out. The media is it has all these reflections of ourselves in it when we watch these movies and stuff. It's all these different reflections. People get scared of the spooky stuff. They're like, oh yeah, it's spooky. But guys, when we get these understandings and we start really digging into what are these forces, that's what this is all about. We see that it's actually not spooky. It's not bad. It's just a direction you can go. That's it.
Right. And I'll speak to those who feel that way, because that's me.
Yeah, it's a lot of spooky stuff. It's like, wow.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, I literally will put on my, like, I mean, I'm being I'm being serious. Like, I can speak to that in terms of being scared. So it's real, like that feeling, but it's not. It's an illusion. And so, for folks who feel that way, just delve into it. Take your time. Go at your own pace. But I might be at advantage because I have babies, and that's enough to keep me covered. But it can be.
Yeah, it definitely can. Just the reflections. I think that's dope that you brought up hemispheric dominance. That's interesting. That makes a lot of sense. When you think of the two sides of the force and going in a direction, at a certain point in going in that direction, it's going to feel, like dominance. Like say if you're going around in the torus and it's circling, if when you're up here and you're at this part, this is a dominance. It's like, oh yeah, I'm up, I'm up, and you feel up. And then you guess what? You come back down. So then you come back down and you circle back, and that's the field. It just keeps going. So that's why we got to embrace that lower. Not to say travel in that direction, but embrace it, knowing that yes, even when you travel in this direction, the lower still exists. It's still there.
Well, more than that, it's not stay there, because
Right.
motion may push you. You know how they say sometimes when things are out of your control, and you can be okay with that because you had no control, and it might make you feel your lower self. It's more so don't stay there.
Right.
But yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly. Definitely don't stay there. Stay in motion. Stay in motion. Whichever, and that applies either way, to either direction. Stay in motion. Why not? But those smaller, where it gets in, and it's more, of the concrete. I mean, hey, that's an experience that could really shape a different trajectory. What if you went a different way, and that means you would have like that much, because we know like going through things shapes your character and creates you to the path that you need to rise up and be the higher self. So hey, you go super low, you rise back up, hey. I wouldn't recommend it, but if
But
you
no,
don't
but
have a
no.
choice,
But so that's the thing. I don't think anyone recommends it, but I think that is the reality of life. And it happens, and we see that play out in so many different ways. And all of us have seen those, stories where someone sort of triumphs through the lowest. I mean, we all have, right? I don't know who comes to Whitney Houston.
Right.
Like,
time.
you know what I mean? Some people say she has the greatest voice to this day of all time, but we've seen ways in which we actually seen her figure eight play out in real time. And so, I mean, that is just real. And for me tonight, I don't know, my spirit is really speaking to the one who is there. They may feel that, they've hit that rock bottom is the bottom of the 8. And then, but the only where to go from up there is to travel up to to travel up to the highest parts of that figure. Yeah.
That's true. Absolutely. That's facts either way it goes. Either direction, that's always a fact. That's true.
Right. And that hopefully that offers some level of comfort, because, as JP just said, either way it goes. And most of us, as we spoke to before, that's what we're seeking out. The average person isn't seeking out the lower self, because we feel best when we're on our upward motion to our higher selves.
Right. And so that's why I feel like, and I think that's a great place to kind of, Ray just joined. So Ray, if you have any questions, bro, definitely feel free to ask. I'm definitely going to be wrapping it up here in just a few minutes. We definitely want to continue and close the build out properly. So definitely is time enough left for you to ask questions if you do have them, or if you want to chime in and say an opinion or anything like that. You're definitely able to do that anytime. So just letting you know. But I want to kind of, end on an upward trajectory and just let people know, like, yeah, that's true. And I appreciate that energy of just always, Misha bringing, the full picture into focus, where we can realize, like, hey, this is not a cutting off or shunning, or that's not normal. That's not natural. Like, we need to know that this is all a bigger picture. You can't just cut a part of yourself off. You got to embrace yourself. And then that means you got to embrace others too, but it doesn't mean you got to, travel in the same direction or this or that. It just means that you got to realize that that's a part of you. That's all. That's just that simple. It's just knowing, because what that does is help you realize how to engage and how to act with people, how to treat people,
Right. And if I could just add, I know, we wrapping up and I gotta wrap up too, but motion isn't always comfortable, right?
Right.
Like us as humans, we have our form but motion doesn't stop. And so sometimes it may hit us at a rate that we aren't attuned to at that moment, right? But motion is, and it will always be, and its intention is to go up, and it ebb and flows. And the only time it ebbs is because the intention is to flow, right? So it's not
Wow, that was
always
beautiful.
comfortable. And I think it's important for us to presence that. But yeah, like
Wow, that was powerful. The only time it ebbs is when its intention is to flow. Yeah, I'm definitely throw that on the Twitter. Shout out to Misha for that quote right there. Quoting Misha for that one, the only time it ebbs is when its intention is to flow. Man, come on. That's like an Alan Watts quote, man. Come on, man. Like, that's bars right there. Like, bars. For real. Like, that's amazing. Wow. I love it. Thank you. Thank you for that. So one of the last things I wanted to touch on that I had up here was, when we was dealing with inspiration and how this all, this series was created. If I NFT this series, guys, don't worry. Everybody that participated, I'm cutting you in on it. All right. But, the series was created through, and I'm dead serious. The series was created through inspiration, and imagination. All right. So these things are way more serious than we think, right? Way more serious, because through the imagination, we get a peek into something greater. It's outside of the reality that we know as normal, right? We just take things at face value. So if we look at imagination, we can just say at face value, at least we can say it's outside of our normal reality. Because when you're imagining things, you're creating like all kinds of ideas. They may not even make sense in this reality. You may envision yourself like just flapping your arms and flying like a bird or something, which, doesn't happen in this reality, but in your imagination it can. So in that way, and we're not going to get too deep into dreaming, but, dreaming is right there with the imagination. It's tied in. That's like, imagination is like daydreaming. It's like daydreaming, like your imagination in action. So sleep dreaming, that's your imagination, at sleep while your body sleeps. So you see that consciousness always has these different emanations that you're aware of. You're always aware of some kind of consciousness, even if you're unaware from a physical standpoint, like, hey, I don't remember my dream type thing. Well, your body still dreamed, you still had some kind of, experience. Even if it was just your consciousness was keeping track of your body as it slept. You still had that experience of the consciousness still going.
That influence, yeah.
Yeah, because your body still breathes. You don't die when you go to sleep. Your body stays alive. You keep breathing. There's a level of awareness in that. It's a subconscious awareness, but it's still
right. When
awareness.
you wake up and you feel super emotional about a dream you had,
Exactly.
You're aware. Yeah.
Exactly, and you're aware of the dream, and everything's still going. So your consciousness is still going as you sleep. That's the point of that. It's like, it's a stream that never stops ever. It never, even when you die, it never stops. That's what sleep is showing you. Sleep is the mini death. It's the mini version of death.
Yeah.
And so the consciousness continues. And so, what I was saying with the inspiration, and I'll close it out with this, is like, with inspiration and imagination, what is this? This is the inner light. Well, how can you see things in your mind? It's because you have a eye in your mind, the pineal gland. Most people that are on their journey upward and awakening, this is one of the first things you become familiar with, is the pineal gland. When you're first awakening, for a lot of people, I've realized that, we became familiar with the pineal gland early on in the awakening. And so the pineal gland is like the eye inside, right? See, everything in nature and in existence is always telling you about itself and everything else. It's this big conversation of everybody just talking about everybody else. It's like, We got a big convo. It's a big, like, let's say a dinner party or whatever. And everybody in there is like raging conversations, just da 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 da, everybody's da da da. But everybody's talking about everybody else. And that's all it is. And then you realize that everybody is everybody else. That's why everybody's talking about everybody else. You know? Because you're constantly, this one's reflecting that one and that one reflecting, and then eventually it's all just a reflection. And that's what we're building towards. And so the mind's eye, the importance is understanding that relates to our vibration and our frequency, because that's why it's a part of the chakras, because it's, remember, perception. So just what your eyes do, your mind's eye does. That's why you can close your eyes and envision things with your imagination. You creating it in your mind. You're envisioning it. So let that allow you to know what your trajectory is, or know what your direction is, which is your vibration. Let that allow you to know what your vibration is. You know, your mind's eye, use your mind's eye to know what your vibration is. It, after all, reflects light. It's actually capturing light. And that's why and you can, it's a vibration. It's light. Remember, we covered that light is a frequency. So the mind's eye is capturing that frequency, and it's actually showing you, you know, what your vibration is. So like you mentioned, like sometimes we'll have nightmares. Our dreams talk to us. We'll have like a certain type of dream that, you know, and they have even dream interpreters since ancient times. People still do this to this day, and they've been doing it since ancient times. You know, people that can interpret dreams with symbols, and they know like, oh, this symbol means, you know, this probably means this to you. The best interpreter of your dream is going to be yourself, though, because
right. Oh my God.
Yeah, you're going to know what everything means to you, right?
Yeah. What a beautiful way to sum all of that up. Yeah, and I just read The Alchemist too, right? So.
Oh wow, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
Excellent.
I'm so grateful for this. And let me let you close out, but I just had to offer how beautiful, like, you know, talk about healing, talk about therapy. This has been just such an amazing, you know, build to be a part of.
That's awesome. Yo, it's funny, like, as you were saying, I was thinking you're amazing. Like, I was like, oh, like, I'm thinking in my head, like, yeah, you're amazing. Like, I'm talking about you, you know? And I was just waiting for you to finish so I could say that. But when I said that in my head, you said this is amazing. And it showed the reflection. This just happened right now when you said this. Like, I was thinking, like, you're amazing, you know, because you're a beautiful spirit, you know, your energy's good, you know, you know what it is. You know what this is deeply about on a deeper level. And so, you know, it's funny how you said that. Like, you was like, oh, this was amazing. And it just reflected why I said you're amazing. It's like, you see that reflection when they tell you like, oh, what you see in the world it says it about you. It says something about you. It's like that was reflected right in that moment. And so that was a beautiful thing. It's like you see the world as amazing. So somebody sees you as amazing, right? Like someone can see your amazingness because you're looking and you see amazingness. It's amazing like that. So that's a vibration. That's a vibe. That's a vibe. And so on that, you know, I'm going to go ahead and close out. You know, remember, guys, you know, let's stay in tune. Everything is about frequency and vibration. And so if you had any questions, just rewind the video. Shoot us a message, email, whatever. With that, peace and love. Thanks for listening. And I hope that you all enjoy the rest of your night, your morning, wherever you may be. Thank you all. Thank you for being you. And remember what they say, your tribe is attracted by your vibe, right? Your vibe attracts your tribe. Your vibe attracts your tribe. Remember that. Vibration.